For his most revealing interview ever. You'll discover how he went from a Ryder Cup horror show to being best in the world, his deepening friendship with Tiger Woods, and so much more. Only in the Sunday Independent and on independent.ie over 2 weeks, beginning November 27th. Up close and independent.
It's almost Christmas party time at the Waterfront Hotel. Festive lunch and dinner available throughout December with live music on selected nights. The Waterfront Hotel Dunloe are proud sponsors of today's show.
And a very good morning to you. It is the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio. It's Donal Kavanagh with you on the show this morning from now on till 12 midday. It's a Thursday. It's the 24th of November, edging ever so much closer to the Christmas season. I see more and more trees coming up in various places as well, and perhaps we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. As it's a Thursday, we have quite a few papers to get through on our review this morning. The front of the Donegal News this morning: hundreds turn out for Eddie. Popular businessman laid to rest following tragic farm accident. Conor Sharkey writes, Eddie Tinney and the red pickup truck he was synonymous with will be missed around Letterkenny. Mourners at his funeral were told Mr. Tinney died in a farm accident while working on lands at Tullygay on Sunday last. And a picture of the Tinney's lorries outside the cathedral there. A very poignant picture indeed on the front of the Donegal News this morning. Front of the Donegal Democrat: family call for a public inquiry into Garda investigation. The family of a Donegal man who was unlawfully killed in 2012 will ask for a full public inquiry regarding what they've called systemic failings in the Garda investigation. Father of four, Seamus Doherty, was found dead in his bathroom at his home in Drumnacoot, Churchill. He was 67 at the time. Last week, a jury of 4 men and 2 women ruled after a 3-day inquest that his death was as a result of an unlawful killing. Also on the front, Worth the Wait junior cycle results at last. Students from Closh to Culmkill and Ballyshannon opening their junior cycle results yesterday, having sat the exam in June. I mean, that was a horrendous wait. 5 months almost, people waiting for those exam results. On the Tyrconnell Tribune this morning, council payroll accounts for half of budget costs. Donegal County Council's annual budget meeting was a low-key affair, and with the unknown factor of inflation, nobody can predict what increases may impact on the delivery of services in the coming months. Expenditure of 1.75.5 million adopted by councillors, an increase of more than 13 million euro. And there's more on the budget on the inside of the paper there as well. Derry News on Thursday: a crisis in end-of-life care provision. The bed she was in was more important to them than Mammy. A Derry woman says she was repeatedly pressurised by Abergavenny Hospital staff to take her elderly, seriously ill mother home because they needed the bed. The woman, who wished to remain anonymous, said she decided to speak out about her recent experiences in the hope that no other family would have to face the same situation. She said, I feel they put Mammy out of hospital with no real care. I told them repeatedly a domiciliary care package had not been put in place, but I felt no one was listening to me or to my concerns. And that's an ongoing debate. I mean, care after acute treatment in hospital is, and we've had this debate so often in terms of the community care sector, the community hospital sector and so on. A really, really important issue, and important that not only that it's highlighted as a major political issue, which it is, but also that we get to hear the personal stories behind it. Because remember, always when we are looking at a story like this, there is always a person. Whenever we're talking about beds, and sometimes we speak about beds and bed blockages, and we speak about trolleys, and sometimes we forget when we say there was 48 or there was 54, there was 36 people on trolleys. That's 36 people on trolleys. That's people, that's our parents, our friends, our relatives, and it's important that stories like this remind us of that from time to time. Moving on to the national papers this morning, the Irish Independent: stop blocking new housing, Martin tells NIMBY objectors. The Taoiseach says homeowners should consider the plight of others. Taoiseach Micheál Martin has urged homeowners to consider the plight of those seeking to get their foot on the property ladder before objecting to new developments. Speaking at a private event for Fianna Fáil councillors, Micheál Martin spoke about the impact of the housing crisis on those under the age of 40 who don't own homes and are finding it difficult to buy their first house. The Fianna Fáil leader said that before deciding to oppose new buildings in their community, people should be looking at the impact it's having on those that don't have the advantage of living in Also, burglary gang caught after theft of €200 loose change. A member of the Cop Wall burglary gang has been jailed after a Garda operation against criminals targeted the home of criminals targeting the homes of Asian business owners. Burglars from Tala in Dublin had aimed to steal the takings of a family restaurant, fled with just €200 coins and a pair of child's runners before they were arrested. Front of the Irish Times this morning. Doctors shunning of cervical cancer group condemned. Cervical check investigator Dr. Gabriel Scally says the treatment of the 221 plus group was unacceptable. Serious work still required to introduce mandatory open disclosure, according to the report. And indeed, we'll be covering the report of Dr. Gabriel Scally on the programme this morning. That's coming up fairly shortly, hopefully. Hotels putting up refugees are owed millions. That's at the front of the Irish Daily Mail. Business waits 5 months for payment of €2 million. Hotels across the state are owed millions by the state for providing accommodation for Ukrainian refugees. That's due to payment backlogs. The Irish Daily Mail is aware of one hotel in Munster which is waiting on over €2 million, having not received payment since it started accommodating refugees 5 months ago. And also a picture of Vicky Phelan on the Irish Daily Mail this morning, and the side headline, State failing to honour Vicky's wishes on disclosure. And that's a repeat really of that story we referenced in the Irish Times there as well. Moving on to the red tops this morning, and a lot of the headlines on the tabloids this morning focusing on the ongoing trial of Jerry de Moncoch, which is continuing at the Special Criminal Court in Dublin. The front of the Sun, court hears Monk tapes, we don't want any innocents shot. Hutch wanted feud ceasefire, told Dowdall Dan was weak. Jerry Hutch wanted a ceasefire with Pinhans following the killings of David Byrne and his brother Eddie. Regency murdered trial heard yesterday. Monk told ex-Sinn Féin councillor Jonathan Dowdall in a bugged chat, we don't want any innocent shot. He also told how, while rival mob boss Daniel Kinahan this week feared going to war with him as there would be casualties on both sides. And indeed, the words Kinahan-Hutch feud are words we've heard sadly all too often on newspaper headlines and on our TV and radio headlines as well in recent years. Similar story on the front of the Irish Daily Star. Monk's secret tape pledged, the main thing is we stay alive. Trial hears how Hutch looked for a ceasefire. And again, it's a very similar story on the front of the Irish Daily Mirror this morning. Hutch wanted feud ceasefire. Murder accused recorded by Garda bugging device. And it's interesting that these devices that these conversations were recorded on were in cars that were being used for trips across the border that Jerry Hutch and Jonathan Dowdall were travelling in. And a lot of those trips actually were to Strabane and Derry, so quite a few of those conversations, in fact I think the conversations played in the court yesterday did in fact come from a trip that Hutch and Dowdall were making in a car from Dublin to Strabane. Because it's a Thursday, obviously we look at the Irish Farmers Journal. Main headline on the Farmers Journal this morning, shortage of cattle to drive up beef prices. A scarcity of finished cattle has driven up prices by 20 cents per kilogram in the last week, and the prices are set to continue upwards by around €200 a head as a price gap emerges between Ireland and the UK. And the IFA president Tim Cullinan is expressing quite a lot of concern about that particular development. And don't forget too, by the way, as it's a Thursday, Farming News and Views, Chris Ashmore's look into farming and detailed coverage of some of the main issues affecting farmers this week will be on Highland Radio this evening. It'll be on at about 5:20, just after the sport on the main evening news. So Farmers News and Views on Highland Radio tonight in around about 5:20 or so, just after the sport on the main evening news. Now, as you know, and before we do that though, what I neglected to do at the very start of the programme, and mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, is I forgot to mention our contact details. If you want to get in touch with the show, and we always do stress that your contributions, your comments and your perspectives are absolutely key to what we're doing here on the 9 to Noon show. If you want to get in touch, you can text us on 086 60 25,000. That number is good for WhatsApp messages as well. You can call us 074 91 25,000. Caroline is taking your calls along with Donna Marie, and Caroline producing as well. And also you can if you're looking to get in touch via social media or electronically, we can be contacted if you call 074 As I say, 0749125,000. Yeah, that is, as I said, our contact number. Electronically on social media, it's Highland Hub on Facebook, it's at Highland Radio on Twitter, and you can email us comments at highlandradio.com. And don't forget, by the way, you can watch the show unfold. We are on Facebook and on YouTube as well, on our Facebook pages and also on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch the show unfold, and if you do so, you will be able to see the various Zoom conversations we're having, and you can follow all that as well. So that's another option that's available to you if you wish to so do. Also want to mention, by the way, that our papers are sponsored by Kelly's Centra across the road from us here on the mountaintop in Letterkenny. I want to say huge congratulations, because last night Martin Kelly and his team were awarded the title of National Forecourt Retailer of the Year for 2022. Also won the Off-Licence of the Year award for 2022. That follows on from the most recent award from the Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce, where Kelly's Centra was recognised for their work in accessibility, diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So congratulations to Kelly's for that latest award. And we're going to take a short break. As I said, we'll be speaking to Dr. Gabriel Scally about that report in just a few moments. Before we do that, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back after these.
Papers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
It's flu season, and children are twice as likely as adults to catch the flu, which can sometimes cause serious illness. That's why all children aged 2 to 17 can get their free nasal spray flu vaccine, a safe and effective way to protect them and the rest of your family too. So make an appointment with your GP or pharmacist. Visit hsc.ie/flu for more information. From the HSC.
If you're a business owner wondering what to get your staff for Christmas, Kelly Centra in Letterkenny have great hampers to suit all budgets. Luxury hampers are a speciality, with delivery available. Also vouchers for Kelly's award-winning diner or Circle K fuel at the forecourt. Get Christmas sorted for your staff now at Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Call 91 22026.
This Black Friday weekend, everyone's on the lookout for a bargain, but you should be on the lookout for fraud. Bank of Ireland are on the lookout for your financial well-being by reminding you to stop, think, check. Stop. Don't just click any old link. Think. Bank of Ireland will never send you texts or emails asking for your full 365 PIN or one-time passcode. And check using their exclusive text checker by sending the word check followed by the Bank of Ireland message to 50365. For more info, search Bank of Ireland Security. And together, we won't let the fraudsters win.
Bank of Ireland. Begin. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Let Joe McGee Butchers feed your family with their 5 for €20 deal. Choose from our fantastic deli range. Lasagnas, cottage pie, chicken curry and soups. Just a sample of our fine products, all made in store only at Joe McGee Butchers, Letterkenny and Glencar shopping centres. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Highland Radio have done it again! Buy a ticket to win a car valued at €30,000 before Friday, December the 2nd. And you... Who, me? Yes, you will have 3 chances to win €1,000. These draws before the big draw will take place at 11:30, 1:30 and 3:30 on Friday, December the 2nd, live on Highland Radio. Yes, it's that simple. Get your Christmas off to a flyer. Go to highlandradio.com, click on the car link, purchase a ticket, answer a simple question, and we could be ringing you and helping make this Christmas stupendous.
Get back on the road.
The 9 till noon show with the Waterfront Hotel Dunlow, offering up to 20% off their fabulous Sunday carvery during November and December when you book 48 hours in advance and quote Black Friday.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. A quick comment that's just come in, and it's a posit as we prepare for our next conversation. Did you watch the programme last night on Vicky Phelan? Did you, like me, shed a tear and rage at yet another case of unaccountability, ineptitude and cover-up? We do have a choice. Ultimately, these people are accountable to us at the ballot box. Now, what are you going to do? That's a comment from one of our callers. As we know, last week saw the sad death of Vicky Phelan, and it was somewhat coincidental that this week saw the publication by Dr. Gabriel Scally and the government of the report of the study he carried out in 2018. And the report has been published. And then at the end of 2021, it's transpired quite a few of the actions recommended in that report have been actioned on. Dr. Scally has published an update and joins us on Zoom. Dr. Scally, good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Scally, first of all, I think a word about Vicky Phelan, obviously a woman that you'll have spoken to a lot, I'm sure, and come across a lot. It is somewhat coincidental that your update is published within days of Vicky's death. That was coincidental, it does have to be said. But I'm sure you want to have a word about Vicky.
Oh, Vicky was great. Part of my remit right from the beginning, from the Irish government, was to liaise with Vicky. And of course, it was her case and her bravery in refusing to keep quiet that brought the whole debacle, as she called it, the cervical check debacle, into the public realm. And I was asked by the government to look into the whole thing, to conduct a scoping inquiry, which I did. And Vicky was brilliant, she... well, we all know that. And I miss her terribly, because she was always a great friend to me, and we differed on several things at various times, but it was always with the interests of the women of Ireland and the cervical screening to the foremost. And I changed my mind about things, and she changed her mind about things, and it was I have really felt it a great honour to work with her, and I'm so sorry she isn't here now to see my latest report and how much progress has been made. And it's so much due to her, so much.
The level of progress you have been saying since publishing the update is quite substantial. 166 of 170 actions arising from your initial report have now been completed. The remaining 4 are in progress. Are you satisfied at the pace that's happening? Because obviously, I suppose, the headlines are going to pick on something negative, because some of the paper headlines this morning would suggest we aren't there yet.
Yeah. I made, I think, a total of 58 recommendations, and then the HSE and others translated those into actions, and have been ticking off the actions. So my recommendations, some of them have been done extremely well. I think the laboratory service that's provided now for the slides of Irish women by a single laboratory in New Jersey is an excellent service. It's high quality, and I've had a team of my colleagues go to visit that and make sure that not only is it good and doing what they're meant to be doing to the quality standards, but also that cervical check, the screening program in Ireland, is maintaining the cooperation around quality that's needed. So the laboratory service at the moment is good. There's work in place to build a laboratory and staff a laboratory in the Coombe that could take on that work. And that's still a work in progress. The HPV changed to the sort of testing that's done, introducing a much more accurate test, where the first thing that is done is that there's a test for the presence of the virus, and it's only if the virus is present, then the slide goes on for cytology, and that reduces the risk of error and the risk of harm to women. So that's all great. I think the bits that haven't, and also women's health has come on enormously. It's been a fantastic amount of money, actually, a lot of money put into it, and a fantastic amount of attention to women's health, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm very pleased with some of those things.
Some of the key issues, though, appear to be in the area of disclosure, and some suggestions at the moment that maybe there aren't enough protocols in place to ensure. Now, I would certainly expect, if I had an issue with a diagnosis or something that went wrong, if it's found out about at 3 o'clock, I expect to know by 5 past. And I think it's
quite right.
It's reasonable that people should.
You're quite right. I think people should have a right to know about if there's an error, or even if a near miss took place, something that could have harmed you, but eventually didn't. But I do think anyone. These are people's own bodies that are being treated, and it's their information, and they have a right to know what's happened to them. And we don't have that yet. In fact, I was astounded to find that there is actually a prohibition in law from people complaining about the clinical care, the use of clinical skills, which is why people go to doctors and nurses and other health professionals. But there's a ban in law and in the guidance of the HSE about raising a complaint, that they will not consider a complaint if it's just about the clinical care you get. I mean, you can complain about the untidiness or cleanliness or if someone was rude to you, but if it's about clinical care, you're not permitted to complain. And that's not good enough. And it's that absence. That's why I talk about in my report about the medico-legal complex. It's that whole collection of solicitors, lawyers, courts, insurance companies, claims managers, and so on. And that's where people end up, and that's where Vicky ended up in the High Court. And it's where so many people don't want to be, because courts don't bring resolution on things. And Vicky never felt that she found out the full truth. And the court proceedings certainly didn't give her that.
And the fact that she was the person who decided, no, I am not going to sign a confidentiality clause. I am not going to play the game that the medical legal complex wants me to play. I'm going to stand on the steps of the High Court and shout. I mean, if Vicky Phelan hadn't stood on the steps of the High Court and shouted, would we have this report from you? Would we have this update from you? Would all the work you've done and others have done over the past number of years, would that have happened had Vicky Phelan not decided to say no?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Vicky made the big change there. But what I found actually in my first report was that the system was so poor, so bad, had so many flaws, that at some point or other, it was going to, it was destined to fail. It was going to fail in a big way, some way or other. I think we need to recognize that what Vicky did was she broke the dam. Someone had to do it, and no better woman to do it than Vicky Phelan.
But the perception in many areas is, rather than make their first priority fixing the dam, the first priority was, don't tell anybody the dam is broken. And we had a situation where, rather than face up to the situation they were confronted with, that the response of clinicians and administrators and some, let it be said, some in government and some in the Department of Health, their first response and their first instinct was to circle the wagons, preserve ourselves, preserve our colleagues, and keep a lid on this as much as we can. That it seemed that the main focus of their immediate response wasn't to protect Vicky, wasn't to protect others, it was to protect themselves.
Well, one of the really key points that I've made is that, I don't think telling the truth and honesty for health professionals should be anything other than what we expect. It should be natural. It should be as natural as breathing to tell the truth to people, to patients, and particularly when something goes wrong. And one of the things I've been disappointed in is that the Irish Medical Council hasn't changed its guidance. Its guidance to doctors still says that you should practice open disclosure. Should is the wrong word. You must practice open disclosure. It's not optional. It's very easy to tell people, something minor has gone wrong. Oh, I gave you 2 tablets today instead of 1 tablet, or whatever. But it's much tougher to deal with things that really go wrong and really can affect people. And not surprisingly, because of the situation we're in, where the threat of legal action is ever present, people are put off by that. But that's no excuse. And I think all of the professional regulatory bodies need to change their guidance and make it quite clear that truth-telling is not an option. You have to do it.
Do you have confidence that those remaining issues that you've recommended, those remaining changes you've sought, will be implemented, that the progress you're reporting will be seen out, and that we will see that sea change where should becomes would and must, and where we will actually see full disclosure, and we will see honest conversation, and we will see an honest response to this debacle?
Well, one of the reasons I did this report, the one that came out yesterday, was that when I produced my first report with my recommendations, I've been involved in too many inquiries where a report has been handed over, your hand shook, the door closes quietly behind you, and that's the last that's ever heard of the recommendations and the report. And I said at the time to the minister, to Simon Harris at the time, that there needed to be a review process to make sure they were implemented. And Simon, quick as a flash, said, and I want you to do that for us. So that's why I'm still doing this. Am I confident? I think there's a great opportunity to do it. And it does require, but it requires leadership. And one of the things I've been very disturbed about is that some of the attitudes are still very unhelpful. The attitudes towards the 221 plus women that I called out in my report yesterday. One of them said to me, I feel like I'm being treated like a leper because they're quizzed by their clinician about their activities in 221 plus before they be treated. Things like that, and some denialists. There are people who, not just deny climate change or whatever. There are people who deny that there was a problem with cervical check, and say, it was as good as anywhere else in the world, and so on. So that sort of stuff is still going on, and it's appalling. And as long as that is there, there's a danger of us being held back. I hope I've managed to inject enough momentum into the system over the last number of years that momentum will carry us forward. And there's so many good people around. And the 221, although Vicky's gone, people like Lorraine Walsh and Stephen Teep and the others in 221 will still be fighting for this. And that's the great thing, when something goes wrong, people only want three things. They want to be told the truth, and they want honesty and truthfulness. The second thing is, if something did go wrong, they would like an apology, and they would like someone to say sorry and really mean it, not a bureaucratic letter from an administrator, but to sit down with someone, preferably someone who's actually involved in whatever went wrong, explain it and say sorry where that's appropriate. And the third thing is, altruism. I have found there's enormous streaks of altruism in people, and they want it not to happen to anyone else. So that's what this is all about. This is trying to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else.
Finally, there are women in the Northwest who today will get a letter inviting them to cervical check, inviting them to have a smear, inviting them to enter the programme when they reach the required age or whatever. What's your message to them? Because many will be sitting down and seeing this letter and going, I wonder, can I trust this process? Can I trust this system?
I think you can trust the system absolutely at the moment. I think the lab work is excellent. The new test is much better. I absolutely, and it can be life-saving. That's always been the case, What we've tried to do is reduce the damage to people. So all women should absolutely take part. And the second thing is we really need to get the young people fully vaccinated, men and women. There's this great vaccine for all our young people, and the levels of vaccination are not high enough. And I'm really pleased that the government has decided they're going to. There is a real government thrust to eradicate cervical cancer, and that means improving our screening services, which we're doing, but it also means the immunization program and finding cases of cancer early and treating them effectively. All of that, and if we do that, we can get rid of cervical cancer, and that would be the best tribute to Vicky Phelan that we could ever make.
There had been concerns about that HPV vaccine, with some people saying, look, I don't know if I can trust my son or daughter to be given this as teenagers. Your message to them as a qualified doctor, as someone who knows what he's talking about, your message is you can trust it.
It is a great vaccine. It gets better and better as we. This is this virus, this group of viruses. There are over 200 of them, and we now know that they are responsible for not just for cervical cancer, but for other cancers as well. And the vaccine continues to prove itself, and it continues to be ever more valuable as they add new components to the vaccine to deal with more of these awful viruses. And we will get rid of cervical cancer in Ireland. Of that, I'm sure. And vaccination is an absolutely crucial part of it. And it's very, very safe.
Dr. Gabriel Scally, it's been a pleasure speaking to you this morning. Thanks indeed for your frankness. And we'll begin and we'll finish by saying what you said pretty much right at the very start. The best tribute to Vicky Phelan will be to see every one of your recommendations fully realised, fully actioned, and to see the level of disclosure and the level of communication that you want, to see that right across the board. For the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure to talk to you.
And you too. That's Dr. Gabriel Scally there, who is the author of that update, did the original report in 2018 into the cervical check screening programme, and happy to report that a lot of the recommendations he made have been acted on, and action is being taken. A little bit more to do, and hopefully that will be done in the next while. Let's move on to another point. We're going to actually have another piece. Before we do anything else, we're going to take a very short break. Back after these.
Save the date for the award-winning Hotel of the Year's Winter Wedding Fair at the Waterfront Dunloe on Thursday 5th of January from 6 till 9 p.m. The Waterfront Hotel Dunloe, proud sponsors of today's show.
In this week's RTE Guide, it's Toy Show time. We chat with Ryan ahead of the biggest TV night of the year. Alright, royal scandal, Dominic West and Olivia Williams on playing Charles and Camilla in The Crown. plus your free Christmas gift guide with ideas for everyone on your list. Everything and more. RTE Guide, on sale now.
Black Friday weekend at Brian McCormick Sports. 20% off clothing and footwear. Check in store for details. Asics, New Balance, Brooks and Hoka footwear. Save 20% on Black Friday weekend. Clothing from all the top brands. Adidas, Nike and Under Armour. Sports clothing for all the family. Get your 20% off this Black Friday weekend. In store and online at bmcsports.ie.
Dillon's Hotel, Letterkenny is the perfect place to celebrate special occasions. Dillon's exclusive function rooms cater for up to 120 guests for any occasion, from corporate celebrations, presentations and networking events, to milestone birthdays, anniversaries and retirement parties. There's audio-visual equipment, integrated PA systems and even a private bar. Dillon's Hotel, perfectly located in Letterkenny Town Centre with award-winning food and 5-star service. Call 91229977.
Letterkenny Shopping Centre is where real Christmas begins. Get everything you need for the festive season with a wide range of gifts, food and services. Park for free, have a browse, grab a coffee and actually enjoy your Christmas shopping this year. Thank you for visiting Letterkenny Shopping Centre this Christmas.
Black Friday at Foyleside. It's a big deal. Shop till you drop with all the amazing discounts and offers available in stores. And it doesn't stop there. Join us on Friday 25th at 1 p.m. for our big deal event. You could be in with a chance of winning great prizes. See our website for more details, foyleside.co.uk.
Ho, 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 ho. Santa and his reindeer are coming to Homeland Letterkenny this Saturday, the 26th of November, to meet with all the boys and girls from 1 to 4 p.m. Meet and greet with Santa and his beautiful reindeer. Enjoy festive refreshments and fantastic special offers in store on the day. Visit homeland.ie for full details. Santa is looking forward to seeing you all there.
What if someone in the house has medical equipment that uses electricity?
What if my mum has mobility problems and needs to charge her electric walker?
Everyone's concerned about rising energy bills, some more than others. But there could be circumstances that classify you as a vulnerable customer. Just check with your supplier and be sure to register. Talk to your supplier or find out more at cru.ie. Here to shed light on your energy rights. Brought to you by the Commission for Regulation of Utilities.
Do Gu do Station.
It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. In our papers today, we see a story that there's a spike in asylum seekers arriving, the fallout from Ukraine, among the factors identified by the ESRI as boosting numbers. But a lot of applicants coming from places like Georgia, Somalia, Algeria, Zimbabwe and Nigeria. So it's not solely Ukrainian refugees who are coming to these shores. Joined on Zoom this morning by Ciara Murphy, who's the co-author of that ESRI report. Ciara, good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well indeed, thank you. A number of reasons identified by ESRI for this increase in the number of people coming here seeking asylum and seeking refugee status.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the conclusions is that there's no single factor. It's been a very turbulent time internationally, and COVID was a big factor that we identified. There was suppressed migration for 2 years, and that was especially relevant to Ireland just because we're geographically isolated. So most people come by plane to Ireland. And so there was kind of this pent up demand that when the restrictions lifted was kind of waiting to come through. So catch up migration after 2 years of forced immobility is one of the big factors that we found. The nationalities are the same that Ireland has seen consistently throughout the years. So those nationalities that you mentioned there are not unusual. And one thing worth mentioning is that the Russian invasion of Ukraine has had knock-on effects around the world on inflation, on food prices, on supply chains. So there are surprising knock-on effects sometimes when you look into it.
So almost, and I don't want to put this in a way that sounds insensitive. So is it almost we had a blip because of COVID, and now we're at the risk of putting it rather insensitively, it's almost business as usual insofar as we've put that COVID blip behind us and now we're back to say where we were in 2018, 2019. Would that be a fair way of putting it?
So that is something of a fair way of looking at it, but we are actually comparing with 2019 because COVID was such a blip, and we're still seeing 191% increase from the same period of 2019. So that's what we compared with exactly for that reason. And in one sense, yes, there is kind of that catch up of the pent up demand, but there's also kind of longer term distributional effects. So Ireland is seeing more of an increase than the UK or Europe, which would be more traditional destinations for people. So we also looked into that for the reasons that people are coming to Ireland, and in part this is we think Ireland catching up with Europe. We've had very low application numbers, very unusually low for quite a long time. And there's increasing networks of migrants, and that's one of the most important factors according to international research on this subject, is how many people from that country are already in the country, because humans are fundamentally social and migration is no exception.
In terms of the government response, we're told that the government is phasing out the system that it has at the moment in terms of the way people are accommodated, but we are looking at an accommodation crisis, and we're looking more and more at the spectacle recently, for instance, of Ukrainian refugees sleeping on floors in Dublin Airport because there was nowhere available in City West. What is the future, and is there political will, and is there sufficient political action to actually devise a plan for the future?
So we didn't really look at reception systems in this report. This report was commissioned by the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and the Youth to try to help them to inform the reception system or the reception planning in the long term, and they're now commissioning further research. So we are seeing will on the department side to try to understand this and plan for the long term. Again, the white paper has been somewhat delayed, understandably, because of this new crisis, but it was based on yearly applications of 3,500, and we've seen about 11,000 so far this year. So obviously that's a big challenge for the government, and one of our main recommendations from this is flexible reception systems are needed for this type of migration. We saw similar numbers in 2001, and then it just dropped right back down. So it's really important to have reception systems that can accommodate the maximum, but then be redeployed strategically when numbers drop. It's why it's quite a challenging type of migration, because it does vary. It will always vary in a way that's outside the control of national governments.
And of course, after immediate reception, then there's the longer term questions of accommodation to be answered. And we know, again, we have a commitment that the direct provision system is going to be phased out. Now, what's going to be put there in its place isn't quite clear as of yet. Does it come in with your remit to actually look at that and look at the longer term accommodation of people who have come in seeking asylum?
In this report, that wasn't what we focused on, but I would refer you to the white paper, which sets out in quite a detailed way what they hope to replace the direct provision system with.
In terms of the asylum process, we're told that it takes a long time to process. Did you look at the systems whereby applications can be assessed, and is there any way that they can be either fast-tracked, or the actual asylum process and the application process and the adjudication process made more streamlined, so that you don't have people coming in, making an application, and then they being left hanging in limbo for months, if not years?
So again, this report really just focused on trying to explain the recent trend, but there was an end-to-end review of the direct provision process that was conducted last year, very extensive review of beginning to end of the process that made multiple recommendations that try to exactly address that issue.
Ciara, thanks indeed for speaking to us this morning. It's interesting to see those figures, and as you say, more research is being commissioned by the department, and hopefully we'll get to see that, and in the not too distant future. For the moment, Ciara Murphy, co-author of that ESRI report, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thanks so much,
Ciara. Thank you. That was Ciara Murphy there from the ESRI. Now, some of your comments that have been coming in with regards to the cervical check and the HPV virus and the vaccination programme. Caller says the checks happening only check for HPV. Before, all the types of abnormalities were checked for, and you had to sign a form to say that is, and if you want any other type of check, you must do it privately and pay for it. all that is being checked for. To me, this government is looking after not being sued and not looking after women. That's the comment of a caller there. Another caller says, in terms of men, there is no prostate screening for men. We have to catch cancer before they deal with this, the main cancer in men over 50. Indeed, it is. Now, what I would say about that in the issue of prostate cancer is very often indications of prostate cancer can come from a standard blood test. So I would say if anyone, and maybe it's time for people to get into the habit of actually going to their GP to have a blood test and you know, to have a basic medical checkup, because my understanding is, and my experience is, that prostate cancer, the indications of it can actually come in a standard blood test that you get at a GP, and the GP sees the figures, a thing called a PSA. The GP sees a PSA figure in that blood test, and then based on what that figure is, maybe refers you on for biopsies and other tests and things like that. So, I mean, you know, prostate cancer, if you have any concerns, I would go to a GP and literally get a blood test, because, I mean, you know, it can be, you know, the indications of prostate cancer can come very much from such a test. It's 9:45. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
Don't miss this week's bumper issue of the Irish Farmers Journal. Here's Paul Mooney.
Our 10-page agri-job special has essential advice and job opportunities. Don't miss our 24-page children's newspaper, which reviews the best farming toys for Christmas. We've all you need to know on the new €12 per ewe scheme. And find out how cattle scarcity is set to drive beef prices on €200 ahead.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
The Kilkenny Design Sale is now on. There's up to 50% off. Almost everything is reduced. It's the perfect excuse to start your Christmas shopping early, with fantastic offers on gifts across all departments. Visit a Kilkenny Design store or go to kilkennyshop.com for more info.
New this week in Home Store and More. All Cashel Living giftware is half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price Cashel Living giftware is gone, it's gone. Also, all Christmas table linen and all Christmas tree lights are still half price. But when all our half price Christmas table linen and all our half price Christmas tree lights are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Candles, lanterns, Christmas trees, decorations and all types of lights. Everything you need for Christmas. Experience the magic of Christmas at Cooney's. Our biggest and best Christmas shop has outstanding value on lights and trees. There really is something for everyone at Cooney's Letterkenny Retail Park.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents the world's greatest ABBA show. Direct from Sweden, Arrival, featuring original ABBA musician. Sunday the 8th of January, Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Follow us on Facebook, Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
It's the Christmas show that has everyone talking. A roller coaster of emotion, says Evoke.ie. An instant Christmas classic, says the Irish Examiner. Relive the most magical night of the year with Toy Show the Musical. Toy Show the Musical at the Convention Centre Dublin. Book now at rte.ie/Toy Show the Musical.
I'll make this our special night and everyone will see.
Unwrap the magic of Christmas in Derry and Strabane with some extra special events, including the Guildhall Craft Fair, Mayor's Magical Christmas Fun and Winterland Market. Don't miss the Winter Wonderland Procession and Christmas Light Switch on in Strabane on Saturday 26th and in Derry on Sunday 27th of November. Visit derrystrabane.com/Christmas.
The 9 till noon show with the Waterfront Hotel Dunlow. Annual Seniors Festive Christmas Lunch with bingo and live music takes place Thursday 8th of December. Individual or group bookings welcome on 952224.
You may have noticed that ad for Toy Show the Musical. There is a Donegal interest in that particular show, and we're going to be exploring that a little bit later on in the programme. This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. You can text us on 086 60 25,000. That number good for WhatsApp messages as well. You can call us, Caroline and Donna Marie, taking your calls, 07491 25,000 at Highland Radio on Twitter, Highland Hub on Facebook, comments at highlandradio.com on email. Now, the disappearance of a Donegal man has been solved following an extensive 30-year investigation. And we have on the line one of the people who was central in putting the pieces together, Michael Leonard. Michael, good morning.
Good morning.
Michael, this is an interesting story. You were watching Crimeline one night, and there was an appeal out to try and identify the body of a man who was found in a grave in County Meath. Tell us the story of the programme and what you saw.
Well, I happened to be watching Crimeline that night, or Crime Call, and they spoke about this body that was found in County Meath 30 years previous. So they exhumed the body. It was they reopened the case again to try to get a DNA, and they got an artist in to do an artist impression of the deceased from photographs that they would have taken 30 years previous. So when they put the artist impression up on the screen, when I looked at it, the first man came into my head was Paul McGinty from Charles. I couldn't believe it.
And you would have known Paul's sister Eileen, and she was your next port of call?
No, well, actually, my brother was the next port of call because my brother would have lived in England with Paul, and he had returned back to Ireland to live again. So I went online the next morning, actually, and I Googled it, and I got all the details up online. And I got the photograph of the portrait as well, and I took a screenshot of that. So I started writing down the details of his size, height, weight, their age, and his age and so on. So later on that day, I went down to the brother, who he would have known personally, like down the years. So we started comparing things, and he started remembering back then from the time that he went missing. And I have to say a big thank you to him because he had wonderful memory. He was fit to remember back exactly when he went missing, the night he went missing. He could even remember when the police station that he was reported missing in over in Coventry. So, I mean, he is to be thanked big time on that one, you know.
And this is 31 years ago. Paul went missing in April of 1991.
That was 31 years ago. Yeah. So, I mean, there was too many things connecting in the case, you know. So, my next port of call was I had to go to Eileen. And I went to Eileen because I would be very friendly with her. I would call into her actually every couple of days, you know, or a couple of times a week. And I went into her anyhow, and I said to her, Eileen, I want to show you something. Never said nothing about anything. Mm-hmm. So I got the screenshot up on my phone, and I handed her the phone, and when she looked at it, she says, oh my God, she says, that's our Paul. So it was just unbelievable.
So you then...
So I said to Eileen, look, I says, I need your permission here. I says, is this all right that I ring this in the crime call? Because I says, we are 95% sure that this is Paul, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I rang in to crime call then, and I handed the whole thing over to crime call then.
The upshot of it was there has been an inquest, which I believe Eileen attended, and the body has now been formally identified as that.
It has been formally identified on Monday, yes. Now, I'm actually in with Eileen here at the moment, visiting her.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously, pass on our best wishes to Eileen, and I'm sure it's some comfort to Eileen. I'm sure Eileen suspected that the news wasn't great with regards to Paul and with regards to Paul's health and well-being. It must be some comfort to Eileen that she now knows that, you know, there is a grave to visit and she knows what happened, and I'm sure these questions that Eileen has had for 31 years have at least now been answered.
Well, it's closure, you know. She was at the inquest on Monday, and they went to the grave then. So it was really a hard time on her, you know, a hard day on her. So at least it's closure now, you know.
Well, Michael, fair play to yourself for the work you and your brother did. And as I say, our best wishes to Eileen as well. And as we say, yes, I'm sure it's a sad thing to confirm the death of a sibling, but at least there is a grave, at least there is that closure that you've spoken of, and you can be very, very proud of the role that you've played in bringing that closure to her, and it's good to be able to report on something like this, because you have taken away a pain and a gnawing sense of emptiness, I'm sure, that was there for decades.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Michael, thank you indeed, and as I say, well done to yourself and your brother. Best wishes to Eileen, and the case of Paul McGinty. Inquest on Monday has confirmed that indeed that body that was lying in a grave in Meath. Do we have any idea how Paul ended up in Meath? Has that been answered, or is there any indication of how he got there?
It has been answered, but no, it hasn't. But the man that he lived with in Coventry, his daughter actually moved to Meath sometime previous to that, and we think that maybe that might have been the connection,
So he may have gone over to visit,
Might have went over to visit or try to locate them or something, But the man he lived with was from County Meath, Whether that was the connection or not, we don't actually know, But at least, look, it has been confirmed now, And Michael, she has closure on the whole thing.
As we say, thank you indeed for speaking to us this morning. That's Michael Leonard there in Mount Charles with Eileen, as he said. Thank you indeed, Michael. And it's good to be able to report that, there is closure there and there are answers. Just looking at a few comments. Caller says, I'm a driver in the Finn Valley area. I want to thank the 4 men who were out cutting hedges around the area this week in pouring rain. The bushes were so far out on the road I could see buses and lorries struggling every day at school time because they're so overgrown. Well done to those men out working on the roads. Another caller says, just to warn the public, winter is here and there is a scam doing the rounds to say you're a close contact for COVID. I heard Greg mention this on the programme earlier this week. It comes up so often. It was mentioned by Garda Grania as well on the Garda information slot on Tuesday. You get so many of these, you're a close contact, ring this number, make contact, click this link. Please don't. This is indeed a scam. And you will never be asked to click links, and certainly will never be asked to provide any money for tests or anything like that. So, please, if you get any form of a text or communication like that, please treat it with intense scepticism. It most probably is a scam. Caller says, mobile phones, we remove our mobile phones from the kids. They take out the school iPad and they say they're doing their homework. What's the point in paying large sums of money for school books when everything is done on Google Classroom? School is responsible for adding to the amount of time the kids are spending online. I think iPads in school has made time online more acceptable. That's an interesting debate. Way too late for myself, and to be honest, way too late for my children as well. But in terms of, there are so many resources available in terms of online, in terms of the various facilities that people have at their disposal. At what time does innovation actually hinder rather than help education? That, I suspect, is a debate that's going to be with us for a long, long time. News and obituary notices with Emma coming up very shortly.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off on all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
It might be too early to talk about Christmas, but now is the right time to order furniture at McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny if you want it before the decorations go up. Maybe it's a new Irish-made suite, a beautiful dining set, or a luxurious new bed. Whatever you have in mind, there's a great selection in stock for immediate delivery, or to order for a guaranteed pre-Christmas delivery. Visit McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny. McGinley's, with great furniture for every room.
With the ongoing war in Ukraine affecting the cost of energy, many of us are facing a challenging winter. Through Budget 23, government is introducing a range of supports to lessen the financial impact on families, households and businesses, and will continue to monitor the situation in the coming months to protect those in difficulty. It's important that everyone stays warm and well. But where safe and possible to do so, reducing energy use can also reduce bills. Changes like turning your thermostat down by 1 degree and considering how often you use energy-intensive appliances like tumble dryers can make a big difference. For information on available supports and energy-saving advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Early Black Friday savings start online today at McElhenny's.com. Discover unmissable offers this weekend with major savings on women's, men's, kids' clothing and footwear, plus amazing jewellery, beauty and gift offers. Don't miss out this Black Friday at McElhenny's.com with fast delivery and click and collect.
The Central Hotel, Donegal Town presents the Essentially Shared Tribute Act this Christmas. Enjoy Cher's classic hits and the perfect Christmas party night on Friday 16th of December. Tickets online at centralhoteldonegal.com. Book now and share in the Christmas spirit with Essentially Share at the Central Hotel, Donegal Town.
Great Black Friday offers this weekend at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, with 50% off Note Cosmetics and 20% off Lancôme Skincare, La Roche-Posay and CeraVe. Special offers on Be Perfect and So Sue. Great discounts on fragrances like Jimmy Choo, Hugo Boss and many more top names until Monday the 28th at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie. Stock already discounted and gift sets are excluded from Black Friday offers.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. I'm Emma Ryan. The lead cervical check report author says doctors must practice open disclosure and it cannot be optional. The government appointed investigator into the scandal, Dr. Gabriel Scally, yesterday published a 39-page report into the progress made to date. He said improvements have been implemented, but there is still serious work to be done. Speaking on today's 9 till noon show, Dr. Scally says open disclosure is essential for patients and guidance around this needs to be changed.
One of the really key points that I've made is that, I don't think telling the truth and honesty for health professionals should be anything other than what we expect. It should be natural. It should be as natural as breathing to tell the truth to people, to patients, and particularly when something goes wrong. And one of the things I've been disappointed in is that the Irish Medical Council hasn't changed its guidance. Its guidance to doctors still says that you should practice open disclosure. Should is the wrong word. You must practice open disclosure. It's not optional.
There have been 81 delayed discharges from Letterkenny University Hospital this year due to a shortfall in carers. That's an increase of 42% on the number of delayed discharges last year. 57 were recorded during the entirety of 2021. The HSE has confirmed that a robust recruitment campaign for carers in Donegal is ongoing. Councillor Albert Doherty says delayed discharges is having a significant impact on the admittance of other patients.
Bed losses was 3,874 because of delayed discharges over a prolonged period. That holds up access to hospital beds. That dictates we need health care support assistance available, and these resources must be available to and for the local community, and that's something that I'll be continuing to drive and pursue.
Gardaí are questioning 6 people in connection with a major international anti-fraud operation that saw victims conned out of over €115 million. The global criminal investigation has resulted in a spoofing website being taken down that involved millions of scam calls and 17 searches in Dublin, Meath and Louth. 132 electronic devices have been seized by Gardaí and 64 suspect bank accounts identified. The operation was led by the London Metropolitan Police. Detective Superintendent Helen Rance explained how it worked.
So the victim believes that they're having a call from their bank. They're then accessing their bank, their details, and then they're clearing out their bank accounts of all their money.
The Dáil has heard how people in Donegal are struggling to put food on the table each week and pay electricity bills. Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle hit out at the budget, saying it is clear it was not designed to target those most in need. He says social welfare increases have done very little to help people. Deputy Pringle also, during a debate in the Dáil, urged the government to provide more community welfare officers in the county to meet the increased demand.
There's officers that have been, money has been spent actually doing up offices, but the community welfare officers aren't actually there as well. So as I said, the work of community welfare officers has doubled, if not tripled, and there has yet been no increases in resources or support. It is incredibly disappointing that our community welfare officers have been forgotten about in this legislation.
And finally, Donegal County Council's budget meeting was told this week that the issue of defective concrete blocks has caused great distress in Donegal for several years, with many now having a fear of living in their own homes. Officials said they hope the new enhanced scheme for privately owned properties will come into operation early next year and deliver significant progress in 2023 and beyond. The council owns an estimated 1,000 social houses with similar defective concrete blocks and is hoping to receive approval to begin repairing those homes in 2023. Meanwhile, the meeting unanimously supported a motion from Councillor Jerry McMonigal that they send a delegation of members to meet with Minister Darragh O'Brien following last week's refusal by a senior housing official to support the provision of modular homes.
That's why I want members of the senior management team, along with elected members, to go down to Dublin to meet the Minister and his officials and put the case to him. The Minister himself has been up here to Donegal. He's seen it firsthand, the condition that these houses are in. Our families should not and won't have to live in conditions like they're living in at the minute if we can get the approval for these modular homes. The onus is on us to do everything that we can in our power to try and help them in every way, in any way that we can, and hopefully this delegation will do that.
Today's weather, very blustery today, with outbreaks of rain gradually pushing in from the west. These are expected to clear early in the afternoon. Highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees. That's all for now. We'll have a news update again at 11 o'clock. But until then, good morning. Obituary notices for Thursday morning, November 25th. The death has taken place of Neil McFadden, Sheshkin Beg, Derry Beg, originally from Glasgow. His remains will repose at Roarty's funeral home, Derry Beg, today and tomorrow from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Rosary both nights at 8 p.m. Family home, strictly private, please. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Church, Derry Beg on Saturday at 11 a.m. with interment afterwards in Maharagallen Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Roarty Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of Margaret Shush McBride, Gardner Hallog, Downings. Removal from the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny this afternoon at 3 p.m, going to her late residence. Funeral from there on Saturday in the Church of St John the Baptist, Carrigart, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Annie Kelly, Nee Brown, Glebe Hollow, Stranorler, and formerly from Glenmore, Ballybofey and Glenties. Her remains are reposing at McCool's Chapel of Rest, Ballybofey today, with visiting time from 3 p.m. until Rosary at 9 p.m. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Secure, Glenfin. Interment afterwards in St Patrick's Churchyard, Crossroads, Killygarden. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam at mcnmedia.tv. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, to Cloughan Day Centre, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Thomas Paul Breslin, Duhall, Ardra. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:45 a.m, going to the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, for funeral mass at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Philip J. Timoney, Drumholm, Ballantrae, Donegal. reposing at the family home today from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. Philip's remains will arrive at St Bridget's Church, Ballintrae for 11 a.m. funeral mass tomorrow morning, with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. House strictly private on Friday morning, please. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu to CREE, the West of Ireland Cardiac Foundation. Philip's funeral mass can be viewed online at churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Father Michael Brown, OCD, St Teresa's, Clarendon Street, Dublin 2, and formerly of Dunmore, Carrigart, County Donegal. Requiem Mass this morning at 11:30 a.m. at St Teresa's Church, Clarendon Street, followed by removal to St John the Baptist Church, Carrigart, arriving at 6 p.m. to repose overnight. Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Mass today can be viewed live on clarendonstreet.com. The death has taken place of Kevin Dunlop, Hornhead Road, Dunfanaghy. Funeral Mass at Holy Cross Church, Dunfanaghy today at 11 a.m. with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Josephine Doherty, 2 St Vincent's Close, Ballybuffet. Funeral Mass will be celebrated in St Patrick's Church, Drumkeen at 11 a.m. this morning, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. House private please before the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired to the Donegal Hospice. The death has taken place of Catherine Kitty Kelly, Nee Doherty, Roefield, Braid, Lifford, and formerly of the Fields, Port Hall, Lifford. The house will be open to the public today from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. The house will be strictly private to immediate family only at all other times and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral from her home tomorrow at 12 noon for Requiem Mass at 12:30 p.m. in St Patrick's Church, Murlog. Interment afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam on MCN Media. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Down Syndrome or Donegal Hospice, care of Grace Kelly. And the death has taken place of Rebecca Ruby McClintock, Brady, Carrigans. Remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral service at her home tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m, followed by burial in the family plot at Monrea Presbyterian Church. House private, family and friends welcome. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to the Northwest Breast Clinic, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand, charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power. Now available in the new Nissan Qashqai, a unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan, innovation that excites.
The 9 till Noon Show with Waterfront Hotel and Inish Fitness Dunloe, Ireland's award-winning Hotel of the Year 2022. Join us for Christmas light switch on and free children's disco on Saturday 3rd of December. Now also taking bookings for Santa Grotto visits.
This is the second hour of the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio for this Thursday morning. It's the 24th of November. As you know, on our socials, we run various polls and ask you various questions. And the questions we're asking on our social media pages today is: parents think Lego, Barbie and puzzles are Christmas presents that will stand the test of time. What are your top picks for a timeless stocking filler? So if you participate in the quizzes and the competitions as such on our social media pages, that's the question we're asking today. Parents think that Lego, Barbie and puzzles are Christmas presents that will stand the test of time. What are your top picks for a timeless stocking filler? And I will answer that question myself personally with one 5-letter word: books. You'll never beat a book. That's always been my belief when it comes to presents, by the way. Books are brilliant. Just to say, a caller says, there's no screening for prostate cancer in men. We have to catch cancer and have symptoms before anyone looks at us. Why isn't there a nationwide prostate screening test for the over 50s? It's a very fair question, and indeed it is the case that prostate cancer can be quite prevalent in men in their 50s and over. But as I said, certainly if maybe it's incumbent on us to a certain extent to start going to GPs and actually doing tests with the GPs and actually getting medical checkups and things like that. I know it's not always feasible in terms of cost and so on and so forth, but maybe there's a certain element of responsibility in ourselves as well. But the point is taken. Absolutely, yeah, it's something that there should be, and particularly with prostate cancer, because prostate cancer is a cancer which, in many cases, it can be quite mild, and it may need no intervention, may need no treatment, and it can just sit there for quite a while. But it's always good to know that it's there and that it's being monitored, and that everything is under control. It's always good to know that. With regards to Vicky Phelan, caller says, poor Vicky, our thoughts and prayers go out to her family. The medical board wanted her to sign a document to cover their asses. It's a disgrace. It shows you what goes on. A shame on the government and the authorities. I was in a pharmacy and there was an announcement to ask everyone to wear a mask despite the staff not wearing one. I thought that was ridiculous. Now, I wonder, was that one of these sort of, some places will have sort of piped music on a loop and there'll be standard inserts, and perhaps it's the case that they haven't changed their standard insert in music that's on a loop for a while. That's possibly the situation. Again, a caller says, make people aware there is a scam text going around telling people they're close contacts with a link on it. I'm sending through the text for your information, and sadly we have seen this text so often before, and if you are starting to get texts telling you you're a close contact and asking you to click a link, please do not do that. Caller says, it doesn't pay to work. Who would work when you see the extra benefits being thrown to people for the last few weeks on social welfare? Now, I think if you're referring to the extra 200 quid cost of living allowance here and there, I'll be honest. I mean, no one is getting rich on those payments. No one is getting rich on those payments. And a lot of, by the way, a lot of the payments, things like the increased children's allowance and things like the energy the energy payment, they're coming to all of us, and everyone is getting the energy payment. So it isn't as though all the cost of living payments are going just to those on social welfare. Some are, but not all of them. And I don't think for a moment that anyone is going to say, oh, it's okay, I can afford not to work now because I'm getting an extra couple of quid from the government for a cost of living payment. I really do not see that working. Right, it's 16 minutes past 10. We're going to take a break, but before we do, if you play Highland Radio NCBI Radio Bingo, grab your books, grab your pens, and I will hand you over to Canis.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday the 24th of November, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €12,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S14. It's game number 47. The jackpot number is 62. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 38, 39, 76, 66, 16, 64, 58, 49, 8, and finally 52. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
New this week in Home Store and More. All cash and living giftware is half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price cash and living giftware is gone, it's gone. Also, all Christmas table linen and all Christmas tree lights are still half price. But when all our half price Christmas table linen and all our half price Christmas tree lights are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Treat your family or friends to a hamper this Christmas from Kelly Centre, Letterkenny. Kelly's have great hampers to suit all budgets, including luxury hampers, available to collect or deliver. Also vouchers for Kelly's award-winning diner or Circle K fuel at the forecourt. Great gift ideas at Kelly Centre, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Call 91 22026.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents the world's greatest ABBA show. Direct from Sweden, Arrival, featuring original ABBA musician. Sunday the 8th of January, Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Follow us on Facebook, Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Massive Black Friday sale now on at Patterson's The Hall, Lifford. Huge savings on kitchens, beds, sofas, dining sets and giftware. Hundreds of products in stock and ready for delivery or collection. Christmas gifts and decorations now on display. Open Monday to Saturday 9 till 5:30. Get yourself down to Patterson's massive Black Friday sale.
This Christmas at Super Value, we have great offers to help you share the magic. Like selected personal care, like Lynx Body Spray, Radox Shower Gel, Tresemme Shampoo and Conditioner. Save 70%, exclusive to Real Rewards members only. Super Value Signature Taste Party Food, any two for €8. Plus get money off vouchers every week. Share the magic this Christmas with Super Value. T's and C's apply.
At Ulster Bank, we have now begun to close current and deposit accounts. At this time, if your notice period and your deadline has passed, your account is now queued for closure. You must take action now. If you are still relying on your personal or business bank account and in need of support, please contact us immediately. Visit ulsterbank.ie, your local branch, or call 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
It's almost Christmas party time at the Waterfront Hotel. Festive lunch and dinner available throughout December with live music on selected nights. The Waterfront Hotel Dunlow are proud sponsors of today's show.
This is the 9 till noon show. You may have heard that there is a speed limit review taking place in Donegal, all non-national roads in the county. Their limits are up for review and you can make comments on that by contacting Donegal County Council. The closing date for submissions to that review is this coming Friday. And when I say this coming Friday, I of course mean tomorrow, which is the 25th of November. But I'm joined on the line from Quigley's Point by Mickey Doherty, who is a former member of Donegal County Council. Mickey, good morning to you.
Good morning, Donal. How are you?
I'm very well indeed, and I hope you're in good form yourself as well, Mickey. Mickey, a lot of people will be surprised to hear that the speed limit through Quigley's Point, that road that goes from Muff to Redcastle and then on to Moville, the speed limit through Quigley's Point is 100 kilometres an hour.
100 kilometres per hour, Donal. It's the only place I know that this is happening. Because when you go on down the road, I mean, you're reduced to 50 kilometres per hour going through Redcastle. 50, maybe 60. I'm not quite sure, but it's certainly not more than 60, which is right and fair. But Donal, the speed limit was increased a year or more ago, 2 years ago, on Quigley's Point to 100 kilometres per hour. And I've been raising this issue from when I was on the council, Donal, from 7-8 years ago. And I've been promised that this was getting done and that was getting done and the road was getting realigned and all the rest. But instead of realignment, they sent out a team, well, obviously they were instructed to do so, to realign the lanes on the road, not the road itself, painted new lines on it. And they moved the traffic, all the traffic towards the shop and towards the point and towards the junction, which increased the dangers rather than reducing them. Donal, there's so many businesses coming on to that road at the junction. It's ridiculous that this was even considered. Not only did they push the traffic over towards the shop and the point in, they blocked the footpath that pedestrians used when they walked from a village to the shop or wanted to walk on through to Foyle View, which is towards the Greenbank Church. And my opinion, Donal, the speed limit has to be, and it will be, and I'll make sure that it is. Whatever means we have to do to do so, because Donal, Quigley's Point has had too much publicity for the wrong reason too often, and my over 40 years of living here. And we don't want to see any more of it, Donald. We had the accident a couple of years ago of the Mullen family, which lost 3 of that family, and it's only a couple of 100 yards up the road. That was bad, and it's still very damaging to Quigley's Point, and it hasn't left people's minds. And that accident possibly could have been avoided, but we're not going to start to pass blame yet. But
now, I want to say I'm very loath to start talking about any particular incident or any particular accident, as you'll understand. So yeah. I don't want to go down that road, Mickey, because obviously it's an iffy one. I'm certainly not going down that road, Donald. But the point I'm making is, if you see that there's something can be done to avoid the likes ever happening again. Yeah. I think it has to be brought to the attention of the council. Yeah. In terms of the safety of the local community in the village, and in terms of Quigley's Point itself, in terms of, the argument may come from officials that really and truly what's backing out onto the main road, apart from the shop and a bar, there's not many residents on it. They may argue that it's not an area where you're going to get a lot of local people or children playing or whatever. You would take exception to that if that were the argument.
Oh, I would, yes, if that were the argument, I would certainly take exception to that. But the thing about it is, Donal, even the traffic coming from Carndonagh to come out onto that junction, it's not fair, and it's totally unsafe for them. It's unsafe for the traffic coming both ways, because especially as George Mills from the Road Haulage Department, George Mills has raised it several times, and George has always backed me on this. It's been on for 7 years, that an articulated lorry coming out of the junction at Carndonagh, no matter how safe a driver you are, and you see that there's nothing coming either ways, vision lines wouldn't be that bad, but vision lines are not extended enough to allow 100 kilometres per hour on the road you're going on to. It's not justified. And a driver can be the safest driver on the road and go out and try to get across that, and there's no way he's going to be across it. There's vehicles coming, they're breaking up, coming both ways, and that's not their fault either.
And that's particularly someone turning to go down toward Muff. Yeah, I can see the point you're making there.
They're still within the speed limit. And the other thing is, Donal, when Down painted the new lines and the turning off spaces on the road, there was a wee footpath going over the bridge between the shop and the point, and there's a wee footpath across the top of that, across the bridge, and a railing on it, which was grand. But there's a flower bed built on the other end of it, which comes straight across the front of the path, which pushes pedestrians, which there's a lot of now, because the point is full of Ukrainians, families, and that's the only access you have to the shop from there or from the village itself. So those pedestrians are pushed out onto the traffic, and I mean onto that route of the 100 kilometres per hour lane, and it's waiting to happen, and I'm surprised it hasn't. Yeah. There has been several minor accidents at the junction, which I know we have accidents everywhere, but it's just the good work of the man above that nobody has been killed there so far.
As we said,
it's waiting to happen.
As we said, tomorrow is the closing date for submissions to the speed limit survey. You can make contact with Donegal County Council, the speed limit survey at the road design office, or you can email speedlimitreview@donegalcoco.ie, or if you want to go onto the council's website, you'll see all those links on the Donegal County Council website as well. And you obviously will be urging members of the local community to make their views known, because if there's a lot of contact from Quigley's Point, someone's going to have to take notice.
Yes, definitely so, Donal. Definitely so. Because it's like I said, I've been bringing this up for 7 years, and I've met with the council, met them on site, and met with John McLaughlin, who was then now the county manager, he was then the director of roads, and come up with several different ideas. And I was supposed to get drawings of the proposed new plan for it. The problem is as well, Donal, I know that the farmer actually offered Donegal County Council land on the other side of the road to allow that extra lane, and it was totally ignored. The whole thing's sitting there, like, you know, and it's too bad that some of the Donegal County Council's main aim was at the time, which was explained to me, was to get that 100 kilometres per hour on that road to extend, to upgrade the value of the road, and where they would receive money, their funding from a different department.
Well, there was talk over the years of getting it upgraded to a national road. It's an R road at the moment, which means it's a local road.
Yeah.
That also means Donegal County Council, along with Garda involvement as well, it's the council sets the speed limit on that road, whereas if it's a national road, once you go into an N road, then it's actually Transport Infrastructure Ireland sets the speed limit there.
Yeah.
But it is within the council's gift in consultation with Gardaí to set those speed limits at the moment. A caller says on that road as well there is a childcare facility, and that too is contributing to the danger. There's a childcare facility.
There's a childcare facility, and those children have to come out to obviously get their parents, and their parents are turning in to collect them. There's a caravan park. It's a main access onto the shore where loads of fishermen are on and out with tractors trying to make a living. And these are slow-moving vehicles that are crossing the road, like, you know.
Yeah.
And another thing is the anti-Foyle View Manor, which is a housing estate, a fairly new housing estate. There's supposed to be a turning off lane there. There's nothing there. There's people sitting waiting to turn into the site, and the vehicles are overtaking them because there's nothing to say not to.
Yeah.
You know?
No, the caller is saying, in fairness, a caller is saying to us, I've lived near that junction now for over 30 years. I don't think there's ever been an accident at the junction. So says a caller. You say there have been a number of minor ones in the past while.
Whoever that is must be living in a holiday home.
Well, the comment says, I've lived near the Quigley's Point Junction for over 30 years. It doesn't say anything about being a visitor. It says, I've lived there for over 30 years.
Well, I don't know how they're missing out, because they're almost, and I think if you go back into the Gardaí records, that'll be easily checked out.
Right. Well,
it's been a problem for years and years.
Well, as we said, that speed limit review is ongoing, and it ends tomorrow, so people can make contact with Donegal County Council, the speed limit review at donegalcountycouncil.co.ie, and people can make their views known there if they so wish to do. But in the meantime, Mickey Doherty, former member of Donegal County Council, thanks indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Donal, thank you, Donal, for giving me the time also and being able to highlight this. But I would just appeal to the engineers who will be reviewing these opinions. Will think a wee bit in favour of people's opinions rather than their own, because that's the way it has been so far.
Yeah.
There's nobody listening to what people are saying, and I think with us being living there and knowing, you know, and whoever's there 30 years and doesn't know of an accident, they must never look out the window.
Yeah. Okay, look, Mickey, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
No, thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. That's Mickey Doherty there. I would say former member of Donegal County Council. A caller has just called in to say, yeah, Mickey Doherty is right. It is an accident waiting to happen, so says a caller. We were talking about the health situation earlier, and I just want to very quickly share a message that's come through to the show. Caller says, I want to share my story with you regarding our experience. My mother was taken to hospital earlier this month with a bad infection on her foot. She didn't get admitted. She was taken there on a Sunday, didn't get admitted until the Monday evening at 5. She now has a very bad infection. I travelled some distance to the hospital on Monday night. When she got to bed, she was comfortable. The foot was bandaged. When my brother went to see her on the Tuesday, the bandage was unwrapped in the brother's presence, and he was horrified to see the foot had deteriorated quite badly, and their mother had to go to Galway for treatment. That was Tuesday. They didn't get a family meeting until Thursday with the consultant, who said she needed to go to Galway, but there were 4 people ahead of her in a queue. And it took a while. Ultimately, they wanted to put her in a car and drive her down themselves until she got a bed. It's such a predicament, they said, to be put into. Their mother, she says, was on a drip for pain and for the infection. And, you know, she said they were very unhappy with the situation. The upshot of it is that the lady is having her leg amputated above the knee in Galway, and they're just devastated, and they feel totally let down by the healthcare system in the country, and they're just really, really distressed at what's happened, and that's a horrible, you know, story to hear, and we really are sorry to hear about that, and the illness that's been suffered by your mother. We really are sorry, and we can't really say any more than that. Indeed, we've just been given the lists of patients who were awaiting admission this morning at Letterkenny University Hospital this morning. There were 57 admitted patients without beds in that hospital this morning at 8 o'clock. 21 of them were on trolleys in the emergency department. 36 were elsewhere in the hospital. In Sligo, by the way, the figure was 31, with 16 of those in the emergency department. So that's 31 in Sligo, 57 in Letterkenny. So between the 2 Northwest hospitals, that's 88 patients not having beds between the 2 Northwest hospitals. And that, if you combine the two, that's the highest figure in the country. Limerick, which traditionally has been the highest in the country, figure this morning was 63. Figure in Cork was 50. So Letterkenny, the second highest in the country as it stands this morning. But when you add on the Sligo figure and make it a Northwest figure, it becomes the busiest. We're going to take a short break. Back after these.
If you're thinking of changing your washing machine, consider the brilliant 8kg 1400 spin washer from Blomberg. Raymond Sweeney here at Ben Sweeney Euronics. If you often need laundry washed in a hurry, this brilliant washing machine will get your daily clothes clean and fresh in under 30 minutes, saving money on your energy bills and giving you back valuable time. It also comes with a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in to us and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Candles, lanterns, Christmas trees, decorations and all types of lights. Everything you need for Christmas. Experience the magic of Christmas at Cooney's. Our biggest and best Christmas shop has outstanding value on lights and trees. There really is something for everyone at Cooney's Letterkenny Retail Park.
In cold weather, why work with a red nose and blue fingers? Heat your garage or shed with a kerosene blow heater from Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny. Call into Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny, where you'll find heaters of all sizes for sale and hire at great value.
Don't stand still. Evolve Clothing Letterkenny Retail Park at evolveclothing.com. Massive Black Friday big discount sale now on.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Bill, ní onan gach léirú I níos móna chuige anmh timp na héireann mar na muoinú I go gcóirle alainn. Téigh léirú Bill de cheantarsa. Chuir de hic the náirí, inniu. Tá hasclub live is muoinethe I go gcóirle alainn.
With the ongoing war in Ukraine affecting the cost of energy, many of us are facing a challenging winter. Through Budget 23, Government is introducing a range of supports to lessen the financial impact on families, households and businesses, and will continue to monitor the situation in the coming months to protect those in difficulty. It's important that everyone stays warm and well, but where safe and possible to do so, reducing energy use can also reduce bills. Changes like turning your thermostat down by 1 degree and considering how often you use energy-intensive appliances like tumble dryers can make a big difference. For information on available supports and energy-saving advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Save the date for the award-winning Hotel of the Year's Winter Wedding Fair at the Waterfront Dunlow on Thursday 5th of January from 6 till 9 p.m. The Waterfront Hotel Dunlow, proud sponsors of today's show.
It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Good morning to you. A lot of conversation on the show yesterday and indeed in previous days as well about bus airing and buses not turning up and people being stranded on the side of the road. I'm joined on line one by Tara. Tara, good morning.
Good morning, Donal. How are you?
Very well indeed. Tara, this didn't necessarily happen in Donegal, but it did happen in the northwest. It's a story involving your parents and your aunt, and this is maybe a salutary tale that tells us, you know, what the consequences are when a bus doesn't turn up. Tell us the story.
Exactly. Okay, well, my mum and dad and my aunt, now my mum is in her 70s and my dad and my aunt are in their 80s, were travelling to Dublin Airport in September to catch a flight to America. And their bus was at 6:30 in the morning. My aunt was getting the bus in Sligo, and then my parents were joining the bus in Carrick-on-Shannon half an hour later or whatever. So my aunt was waiting at Sligo bus station, and there were no announcements, no information on the bus, but the bus didn't turn up. There were about her and about another 10 people waiting there. And one of them looked at their phone and saw that an email had come in that morning at 5 o'clock in the morning to say that due to operational reasons, the bus wasn't going to be turning up. And so everybody was in a panic, and a few of them had to order taxis to Dublin Airport because they were all catching flights. And so my aunt had to phone her brother, who lives about 5 miles outside Sligo, who had dropped her in initially, to come back in. He was back in bed. He'd come back in and collect her and bring her to Carrick-on-Shannon, to where my parents were waiting. And they had to go back and get their car from the house because they had been waiting at the bus station as well. And by the time all this happened, it left them running late to get to the airport. And they arrived at the airport and, they had no car park booked, so they had to find a car park then, which cost them €190 for the 19 days that they were going. And also the cost of their petrol or diesel in the car. And anyway, they got to Dublin Airport, and my dad and my aunt, because they're in their 80s, had wheelchair assistance booked. But when they got to the airport, and because they were running late, there was a queue at the wheelchair assistance area, and they couldn't wait because they would have missed their flight had they waited. And so they made their way with their bags and whatnot, and Dad was going up the escalator, and he fell then at the top of the escalator and hit his head. And it was bleeding and everything, and then they had to get medical assistance to come and help him. And then there was a query whether he'd be allowed on the flight or not, but in the end up they did let him on the flight. And so they got to their flight anyway on time, and they made it. And they were going over to visit an aunt of mine who wasn't well as well, so that was another worry. So then, rather than when they came back, then I got a bus up to Dublin to meet them because their flight was in early in the morning, and they'd been flying all night because they were flying to Cincinnati and they had to get a connection in Washington. Yeah. So they would have been very exhausted. So then that was another consequence of the bus not turning up, and that I had to go up and collect them and drive them back in their car from the airport, and the cost and whatnot involved.
And as we say, bus airing do sell themselves in the adverts and so on, as you know, take the easy way, take the nice handy, you know, take the pressure off yourself, and that's what it should be. But and we also know that the last thing you want to be going to an airport is stressed. Now, I will be honest with you. I am the one that wants to be through departures 2 hours before the flight. I'm the sort of person. I like to be sitting at the gate with an hour to go. So I have my book, and I will sit down with my book, and I'm quite happy at the gate for an hour. Just give me a book and let me sit down and read, and I am as happy as Larry. The last thing I remember, I went through Amsterdam over the summer just past, at the height of the post-COVID, we have 3 people working security for 18,000 passengers, and we were in the airport for 4 hours and barely made the gate, and it was the most horrendous bloody experience I've ever had in an airport. And you want to be in good form in an airport. The one thing I would say, and it's interesting that you mentioned that an email was sent that morning. I must be honest, I don't check my emails all that fastidiously. I certainly do not check my emails first thing in the morning. And I suspect that really what should be happening is text rather than email. I got cut out over the summer. A tour I had booked while on holiday was cancelled, and an email was sent to me. I hadn't checked my emails because I didn't really have access to my emails, because all I had with me was a phone, and I sat there waiting for a tour to start and it never started. I then found out afterwards when I rang, oh no, we sent you an email. I said, you could have sent me a text. They'd sent me a text 2 days old. And maybe what we could do is when if people, I mean, obviously the tickets were pre-booked because they got the email. So surely Bus Éireann should be looking at text, because we're much more likely to get a text or a WhatsApp than we are to be looking at an email, particularly for a bus service that's leaving at 6:30 in the morning.
Exactly, and the chances are most people will go into the airport for flights or or maybe going to work or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but, and it's so important. I mean, there's a bus leaves Letterkenny. I think it leaves about 10 to 2 in the morning, and so many people get that bus to catch flights. And I've heard so many stories about people who either ended up missing flights or whatever because that bus didn't run or there were issues with that particular bus. And normally it works fine. Normally it was on an ordinary day, it works absolutely fine. It gets people to the airport well in time for their flights and everything goes well. But when things go badly in airports, they go very badly indeed. Tara, thanks for sharing the story. I mean, hopefully your mum and dad and your aunt and your dad in particular aren't too the worse for wear as a result of the experience, and obviously best wishes with your aunt in Cincinnati as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okie doke, Tara, thanks indeed for sharing the story with us this morning.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Tara.
Bye-bye.
That's just, and again, and I said this at the start of the programme when we were talking about that headline in the Derry News. I think it's really important sometimes that we hear the personal stories behind the news, and I maybe am more guilty of this than most, because I usually work in a newsroom and I will do a news story about a Donegal deputy has expressed concern at the level of buses that are not running, and I will give you statistics and I will play you the clips in the Dáil of Piers Doherty or Thomas Pringle speaking, and I will play you the minister's response. But maybe it's really important from time to time that we actually get that. We get Tara coming on and say, my parents and my aunt didn't get a bus, and as a result they didn't get the wheelchair access they were supposed to get in Dublin. As a result, Dad fell and hit his head. These are all things that happen, and they happened because a bus didn't run. And I think I really do feel about this, rather than send emails, surely send a text. And I know it can be handy to just send a batch email, but surely there must be some way of sending texts if you're cancelling a service like that. Really, there must be. It's the 9 till noon show. It's 14 minutes to 11 o'clock. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
Don't miss this week's bumper issue of the Irish Farmers Journal. Here's Paul Mooney.
Our 10-page agri-job special has essential advice and job opportunities. Don't miss our 24-page children's newspaper, which reviews the best farming toys for Christmas. We've all you need to know on the new €12 per ewe scheme. And find out how cattle scarcity is set to drive beef prices on €200 a head.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Choose your MasterCard this winter and you could get €10 back when you make 3 purchases. Maybe it's the bus to work, popping out for milk, or bringing home food for the cat. Why not make us your payment card of choice? Register now at mastercard.ie/register to get, and you could be one of the first 20,000 people to get €10 back with 3 purchases. 18 plus Republic of Ireland residents. MasterCard cardholders only. From midnight 10th November until midnight GMT 11th December 2022. Offer ends when 20,000 entrants have qualified for cashback. Full T's and C's, mstr.cd/IE terms.
Uh-oh. Looks like last-minute Liam is in a spot of bother. He missed out on saving up to 50% on expressway coach tickets and guaranteed seats by not booking them early enough online. But not to worry, Liam. Lucy booked them in advance instead. Now all you have to worry about is not forgetting Lucy's birthday. Oh dear. Silly Liam. Offer applies on Route 32 between Letterkenny and Dublin. Don't be a last-minute Liam and Lucy. Book your tickets in advance online at expressway.ie.
A massive Black Friday sale is now on at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet. In Ballybuffet, a huge selection of Christmas gifts and homeware is reduced to half price. In Ballybuffet and Letterkenny, there's big reductions on all rugs, a selection of dining room furniture, mixed paints, end-of-line curtains, cushions and much more. Check in store and online at foys.ie. Follow Foy & Company on Facebook and Instagram for up-to-date offers.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments proudly presents, direct from the USA, The Drifters, featuring original singer Rick Shepherd. Take a trip down memory lane. Celebrate a night of nostalgia with The Drifters at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, Saturday 11th of February. Tickets available from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Late Late Toy Show. But wait, Eclipse Cinemas Lifford Strabane are offering kids take-home popcorn trays with sealed homemade popcorn, drinks and sweets, plus other take-home cinematic treats. Pre-order yours via messenger, email or by calling Eclipse Cinemas Lifford Strabane.
Don't miss a night of the Country Stars live in concert on Monday the 5th of December in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, featuring Jimmy Buckley, Brendan Shine, Patrick Finney, Olivia Douglas, Declan Nerney and your host and compere David James. Tickets now on sale from hotel reception and online at Eventbrite. That's Monday the 5th of December at the Mount Errigal Hotel.
The 9 till noon show with the Waterfront Hotel Dunlow. Annual Seniors Festive Christmas lunch with bingo and live music takes place Thursday 8th of December. Individual or group bookings welcome on 952244.
We were speaking about the speed limits at Quigley's Point earlier, and a caller says, I am from that area. There have been numerous accidents every year, not perhaps very serious accidents, not perhaps the ones that make the headlines, but accidents nonetheless. Another caller says, very concerned about the road at Capri, the bypass there. There are heavy duty vehicles using that road regularly, as well as a school bus and lots of other traffic as well. People often speed on that road and it's quite dangerous. And it's important that the authorities look at that area around Capri as well, so says a caller. Another caller says, with regards to the hospital, it's shocking that nobody has declared the hospital is in crisis. There is such a large amount of patients, not enough beds. The care and well-being of patients needs to be the priority. And that's very few people would disagree with that. Now, I want to go to John, who's joined us on a line. John, good morning. Good morning, John. Hello, John.
I'm a cancer. Hello, Donal.
Hello, John. Indeed, yeah. You have a story to tell us about something that happened to you this week.
Yes, I was. I have got prostate cancer, and as anybody who's got prostate cancer knows, you cannot choose when to go to the loo.
Yeah.
It just comes on fairly suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
I was outside a hotel in West Donegal yesterday, and I needed to go to the toilet. So I went in, the door was open, I went in, and I asked the receptionist if I could use their toilet, as I had prostate cancer and couldn't really wait. She refused permission, saying that the hotel was closed only for certain people.
Yeah.
And that I wasn't happy with her answer. And I spoke to the manager, who said the same thing. After I waited for 10 minutes to get, and they were both very rude, and they both said the hotel was closed. I said the door was open, so it didn't look as if it was closed.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was go to the toilet. I've often been there before, but this time it was different. There was only one other person at the desk when I went in. I was very, very annoyed that I've been in the hotel industry for about 50 years.
Yeah.
And I've never, ever come across anything like this before. The rudeness. And I said to them that you cannot turn away somebody who's got prostate cancer because they cannot choose when to go to the loo. And it just went over their heads. They were both very, very rude.
Did they eventually relent, or did you have to go elsewhere?
No, they didn't relent. I had to go next door. I'm
really sorry to hear that, John. And I'm surprised, because normally people would be accommodating. And okay, I know that there are some hotels which you've said are now not open to general guests, and they've been reserved, as it were, for block bookings for other residents. But in terms of, I mean, presumably you were in at reception, so presumably there was a toilet not too far away from where you were standing.
I thought it was inches away from the reception, just right behind, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't go anywhere else in the hotel. you know.
Yeah.
They had to get me bus. They had to get me bus at quarter to one to get back to Gandhi's.
Yeah, it's yeah.
It's very disconcerting for I mean, if they do that to me, who's reasonably a local, what would how would tourists not feel?
Yeah. And was there any explanation offered? I mean, was it to do with insurance, or was any explanation offered?
What they said was that they had a contract and were very strict to that there's nobody at the hotel except the people who they were looking after. I mean, they wasn't going to do any. They wasn't going to annoy anybody.
Okay, I can absolutely understand, bars not being open and so on and so forth. But I mean, surely allowing someone to use a toilet is a very basic human need and human response. And as you say, particularly someone with prostate cancer, there at times, if you're caught short, you're caught short, and you have no choice but to find a loo as quickly as possible. John, all I can say is I'm very sorry to hear you had that experience, and hopefully this is an outlier.
Is it against the law to refuse somebody?
I am not aware of the legal situation. I would have thought there's it would seem to me that it's you can argue about sort of morality and human decency. Now I can and the other thing, I suppose, I'm always anxious to defend people like receptionists or people that are at counters, because sometimes people in that position find themselves, as it were, implementing the policy that's been passed on to them from on high. And maybe I'm always loath to complain too much with people in reception jobs and people who are front-facing customers in situations like that, because very often they're implementing what they've been told to do by management and by people higher up, and sometimes they can take the brunt of the opprobrium, as it were. So I would be a little bit loath to criticise the person at reception, but it certainly does seem to me that human decency would suggest if someone comes in that needs a loo. Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly with you as regards to the reception people and all that.
Yeah,
because I've been in that position for the last 50 odd years. They wouldn't even give me their name or anything else, or complain to anybody else.
Yeah.
I did get the name of the receptionist, but I won't say it.
Please don't, obviously.
The manager might report them to anybody.
John, all I can say is, look, I'm really sorry to hear that you had that experience, and hopefully that's an outlier and is not reflective of the attitude that other premises would show to you. But listen, John, for what it's worth, enjoy the rest of your time in Donegal. I know you're a native, but you're living elsewhere. Yeah.
All I can say is that wouldn't happen in Glanties.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, John, listen, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us this morning, and it's a tale that we'll certainly take on board. That's John speaking to us there, a prostate cancer sufferer, caught short, went into a hotel that's working on another contract at the moment and was denied permission to use a loo. Another caller says, while I understand this caller's concern, you must remember it's probably insurance purposes that he wasn't allowed to use it. And yeah, I did raise that question with John, that sometimes insurance is given as. Now, sometimes I wonder, is insurance given as a nice handy catch-all response to everything? But that, as the man said, remains to be seen. Going to go to a break before the headlines very shortly. Before we do, though, caller says, I remember last year you were talking about a bogus salesman selling saucepans. It seems he's doing the rounds again. He knocked at my door yesterday. Supposedly got them at a show, named people he got them from, and supplies a local business here. I contacted both. They said they haven't heard of him before. I've reported them, but I want to warn everyone. And that did happen before. I remember years ago, there was a case where someone did exactly that, and they named a very prominent local chef and said that this local chef was a customer and had endorsed him. And the chef came on air and said, I did no such thing. And, we've had people claiming that they supplied well-known, reputable shops in the area as well, and suggested that they were almost selling on behalf of the shop and that they had the backing of the shop when they hadn't. So if someone knocks on your door selling and spins you a story about who is backing them, at the very, very least, be sceptical, be very sceptical. And if you have any concerns at all, the best thing to do is go to your local seller whom you trust, go to your local reputable dealer and do your business there. And then you'll know that the products you're buying and the service you're getting are up to scratch.
Do I go all electric? Or do I go mild hybrid? Or do I go somewhere in between and go plug-in hybrid? Why not go and find out at your local Ford dealer? The Ford electrified range is now available for 2023. There's the all-electric Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Kuga plug-in hybrid and the Puma mild hybrid. Now with great promotions across the range, make 2023 the year to electrify your drive. Ford, bring on tomorrow. Visit Ford.ie.
Give the gift of discovery this Christmas with an overnight escape or a meal they're sure to remember in that place they love or the one they'd love to try. Buy a voucher for one of Ireland's amazing hotels or restaurants today and support Irish businesses while getting a head start on your Christmas shopping. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Whether you're travelling for business or leisure, fly local and choose City of Derry Airport. For a convenient, friendly and reliable service, choose City of Derry Airport. Direct flights to London Stansted, Liverpool, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Manchester and Majorca. Book now at cityofderryairport.com. Voted the #1 airport in Northern Ireland.
Early Black Friday savings start online today at McElhenney's.com. Discover unmissable offers this weekend with major savings on women's, men's, kids' clothing and footwear, plus amazing jewellery, beauty and gift offers. Don't miss out this Black Friday at McElhenney's.com with fast delivery and click and collect.
Swing into Christmas with the Rat Pack, live at the Griannan Theatre, Letterkenny, December 14th. Direct from London's Leicester Square, and for one night only, enjoy classics from Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. Tickets from Anne Griannan Theatre box office and annegriannan.com. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Join Kevin Dundon for a Christmas cooking experience on Thursday, 1st of December at the Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford, with mulled wine reception and cannabis. Tickets are priced at €35 and are available from the hotel reception. Proceeds in aid of the Creasla Community Support Fund.
This Black Friday weekend, a massive clearance sale will take place at Watson Hire in Letterkenny, with clearance deals on tools, hardware and homeware, also in clothing, paint and much more. Representatives from Draper, Jefferson, Makita, Bosch, Milwaukee, Port West and others will be in attendance with loads of giveaways and prizes on the day. See Facebook for more details of amazing one-off deals. That's this weekend, Friday, Saturday and Sunday at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Waterfront Hotel and Inish Fitness Dunloe, Ireland's award-winning Hotel of the Year 2022. Join us for Christmas light switch on and free children's disco on Saturday 3rd of December. Now also taking bookings for Santa Grotto visits.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Just gone 11 o'clock. Time for the news headlines. Good morning, Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Donal. Good morning. Detectives from the Terrorism Investigation Unit have arrested a 54-year-old man from the Dungiven area as part of their investigation into a vehicle hijacking and subsequent security alert in the Waterside area of Derry on Sunday. The man has been arrested under the Terrorism Act and has been taken to the Serious Crime Suite at Musgrave Police Station, where he is being questioned. The lead cervical check report author says doctors must practice open disclosure and it should not be optional. The government appointed investigator into the scandal, Dr. Gabriel Scally, yesterday published a 39-page report into the progress made to date. He said improvements have been implemented, but there's still serious work to be done. Speaking on today's 9 till noon show, Dr. Scally said open disclosure is essential for patients. The number of people seeking international protection in Ireland is up almost 200% compared to pre-COVID figures. A new report by the ESRI shows Ireland's received just under 6,500 asylum applications in the first half of this year versus 2,000 during the first period in 2019. The Dáil has heard how people in Donegal are struggling to put food on the table each week and pay electricity bills. Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle hit out at the budget, saying it is clear that it is not designed to help those most in need. He says social welfare increases have done very little to help people. Donegal County Council's budget meeting was told this week that the issue of defective concrete blocks has caused great distress in Donegal for several years. Officials have said they hope the new enhanced scheme for privately owned properties will come into operation early next year and deliver significant progress in 2023 and beyond. The council owns an estimated 1,000 social houses with similar defective concrete blocks, and it is hoped to receive approval to begin repairing those houses in 2023. And finally, Gardaí are questioning 6 people in connection with a major international anti-fraud operation that saw victims conned out of €150 million. The global criminal investigation has resulted in a spoofing website being taken down that involved millions of scam calls and 17 searches in Dublin, Meath and Louth. 132 electronic devices have been seized by Gardaí and 64 suspected bank accounts identified. That's all for now. We'll have a news update again at 12 noon.
At Ulster Bank, we have now begun to close current and deposit accounts. At this time, if your notice period and your deadline has passed, your account is now queued for closure. You must take action now. If you are still relying on your personal or business bank account and in need of support, please contact us immediately. Visit ulsterbank.ie, your local branch, or call 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The 9 till noon show with the Waterfront Hotel Dunlow. Annual Seniors Festive Christmas lunch with bingo and live music takes place Thursday 8th of December. Individual or group bookings welcome on 9522 444.
Third and final hour of the 9 till noon show. 086 60 25,000 for text and WhatsApp messages. 07491 25,000 for your calls. Caroline and Donna Marie on the phones this morning. Comments at highlandradio.com via email, at Highland Radio on Twitter, and Highland Hub on Facebook. You can watch us, of course, as well on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. And you can see all the Zoom calls in full, as well as everything else when you watch. Now, caller has just said that they have a problem with water in the Ballindrate area. No water there this morning. They've tried Irish Water. They don't know what's happening. Does anyone know if it'll be off for long? Now, I just took a look on the water.ie website. The only thing I can find on there is scheduled works to take place in and around Lifford as part of the mains replacement programme that's taking place on next Tuesday. So there's works taking place around Lifford on Tuesday next, but I see nothing on the Irish Water website. But if you want to double check, water.ie is the Irish Water website, and you can go on there, and they should be keeping people up to date with what's happening in their area. Now, on our Facebook recently, we asked that a special committee is considering legislating for assisted dying. That committee is to meet before Christmas. Do you believe assisted dying should be legalised for in Ireland? Why or why not was the question we posed. Well, one of those who responded was Brenda, and Brenda joins us on the line. Brenda, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Brenda, you are falling very firmly within the camp that says, yes, if it ever comes to it, I want an option.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we all either have very personal experiences when it comes to end of life, or we know people that have gone through that. And in a lot of cases, it has been a horrendous experience for many. And I just don't believe that anybody should have to suffer to that extent, coming to the end of their life after probably going through a prolonged illness. So not only for the individual, but for the loved ones around them, it's a very difficult situation. And if it was in any other capacity, you know, they would potentially fall in under the support system that's there. You know, I just don't see why this side of it can't fall in under the advanced healthcare directive. You know, if a person makes that decision, which I believe I would if I was in that situation, and they sign off that at a certain point they don't want their life to be prolonged in pain, why not allow them that choice? It's a decision that's not going to be taken lightly. It's going to be heavily discussed with your loved ones, your family, your, you know, whatever people are in your inner circle, you know. Yeah. So I don't think anybody's going to take this very lightly, and I just think that it's just the after effects of watching somebody pass on after a painful death. I mean, it's just it must be shocking, So why not give the option,
The only thing a lot of people will say, one of the problems is that we can have a rational conversation now in full possession of our faculties, and it makes absolute sense in that context. Very often it gets to a point where perhaps the person who is ill does not have the capacity to make that informed decision, does not have the capacity to involve themselves in that sort of rational conversation as such. And the fear is, in some people, that the decision could be made by others. And we could find ourselves that a decision is made not necessarily in the interest of the patient, but to serve the convenience and the wants of other people. And that would be a horrendous thing to happen, that we had legislation that could potentially be used by people to suit their own needs rather than suit the needs of the person who is sick.
Well, you see, again, this is where I believe we already have an advanced healthcare directive which allows somebody to, make that decision in advance that they don't want to be put on life support machines, or, that scenario is kind of already a legal document.
But there is something of a jump between, on the one hand, that sort of, I don't want my life to be artificially prolonged on a life support machine. When you start to talk about assisted dying, you're sort of moving into a very different arena, and I wouldn't, as it were, I would be very loath to sort of say it's just the next logical step, because I think it's a very, very big step to, I don't want to be prolonged through life machines or whatever, have my life prolonged. That's one thing. I mean, you're effectively saying let nature take its course. Assisted dying, you're saying don't let nature take its course, intervene.
But isn't that what a terminal diagnosis is? I mean, at the end of the day, you're not just talking about somebody who chooses not to live. You're talking about somebody who has been medically informed that they are now at a terminal stage of an illness. Yeah. There is no going back from that. You see, that's the So yes, there has to be parameters put around it. It has to be set that it has to be on the basis of a terminal illness. And yes, it's going to be difficult to say, well, at what point of that diagnosis are we talking about? And again, you'd like to think that there would be dialogue around this, that you will get the opinions of the medical profession, and that, so that like anything else, an informed decision can be made, not a rash decision. And, the person, the individual themselves, if they haven't signed off on that this is what their wishes are, then nobody should be able to make that decision for them. That part of it, again, that's part of where you have to make it fair to everybody involved. I would like to think that it's me that would make that decision. Yeah. I don't want my husband, my children, my family to have to take that on board. I want to make that decision, and if I've made that decision, no more than if I signed off that I don't want to be artificially kept alive, then, that's my decision. It's not anybody else's.
So really important that we have those conversations now with our loved ones, and we have those conversations in a calm, rational way that, is done in such a way that will ensure that our wishes are known and clearly known. And maybe, and this is where perhaps the idea of the living will or the end of life directive comes in, that maybe if there is a way of actually having your wishes lodged with a third party, be it a solicitor or be it a doctor or whoever, and maybe these are the sort of things that this committee is going to have to discuss. What sort of protocols do we put in place? But the most important thing now, I suppose, is, as you say, have those conversations with your loved ones now, because when someone is seriously ill in a hospital or, in an emergency ward or wherever, maybe then it's too late to have the conversation. So have the conversation now.
Have the conversation. It's like, the sad reality is, and especially when it comes to Irish people, we're not very good about talking about that. We're not very good about making a will. There's nearly this perception, certainly at a certain age level, where if you make your will, that's it, you're gone. Whereas, you're offsetting a lot of hopefully heartache and dispute within a family if you have a will, because you've made your will, you've made your decision. They may not like it, but they're going to have to live with it, and so this is just another conversation to be had. I mean, I've certainly said to my family, if I ever got to that point where I was terminally ill and my options were gone, I would not like to see them sitting watching me suffering. And and we've talked about that. We've made a will, but we've done all those things because it's the practical thing to do for our family. And certainly if there's children involved, that their future is secure, and certainly if they're younger children, that they have you've allocated somebody to be their responsible adult if something were to happen to you. So they're just as a parent, it's a responsible thing to do. Just without being a parent, it's a responsible thing to do, and it's just a conversation that needs to be had. We're not good in this country for having conversations. The powers that be aren't always good at listening to what our opinions are on the ground. So I think by setting up something like this to enable people to put their opinions across, it just would make sure that all areas are looked at and discussed, and that we're not just going down one streamline, and maybe somebody that doesn't agree with this, that I would have a conversation with, may possibly make me look at this in a different light as well. I don't know, but at least it's by having the conversation we can attempt to come to a decision on it.
Absolutely. And Brenda, I've just been contacted by Grania, a regular contributor, and Grania says there is a booklet which is called Think Ahead that can be filled. It states all your wishes, and that book's available from the Irish Hospice movement at Morrison Chambers, 32 Nassau Street in Dublin, and it really should be filled in by every adult, Grania suggests, and one couldn't really argue with that. Brenda, point well made, and thanks very much indeed for speaking to us on the show this morning.
Not at all. Thank you very much.
Brenda. It's been a pleasure.
Take care. Bye.
That's Brenda there, and if there's one takeaway from that conversation, I think the takeaway is the importance of communication, the importance of conversation, and the importance of having those conversations now rather than leaving it until it's too late. Earlier we spoke to John, who has prostate cancer, wanted to use the loo in a hotel that is at this moment closed to the public, was prevented from doing so. Caller says, poor man, so much for the country of 1,000 welcomes. It's disgraceful what happened, that poor man, shame on the hotel, says a caller. The saucepans comment, we've done these ones. Yes, we have. Now, caller says, and I'm going to go for a break in just a moment, because I did mention earlier in the programme that the Toy Show the Musical is coming up, and there is a Donegal connection. We're going to be exploring that in just a few moments. Before I do, I want to read you out an email. It's an email that comes from Mary, and she just headlines this appreciation post. I was in a car accident on Monday. With the weather so bad, my car hit the back of a 222 Kia Sportage. My car couldn't get stopped. I ran into the back of the car in front. It was my first accident in 20-odd years of driving. The car I hit was an iMotors car, and Seamus was straight down, made sure I was okay, told me to come to the garage, and he looked over my car to make sure it was drivable. He got me a cup of tea, looked over the car, explained there was some damage to my car. He wouldn't be happy with me driving it. He was afraid it might overheat. I explained I've never had an accident before. He rang my insurance company, got everything sorted, got me a replacement car that was the same as my own. I just want to say thank you to iMotors and Seamus for their wonderful service. They made a very difficult situation easier. And Mary says, I love the saying, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. And that's exactly what I experienced on Monday. And on a show where we're hearing so much negative, let's read out that comment as well. That's Mary's contribution. As I say, we'll be talking about the Toy Show and Toy Show the Musical after these.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be speaking to the CEO of Donegal Local Development Company, Pádraig Fingleton. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you're looking to reinforce your leadership skills, ATU are offering Level 9 Executive Masters in Leadership and Innovation for private and public sector managers starting in January. Take the next step in your career and call 9186 206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common, and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
The Black Friday 6-day sale at Milford Tiles and Wood Flooring is now on. 20% off tiles, 15% off bathware, 5% off wood and vinyl, footers and delivery service available. That's 6 days of Black Friday savings all this week at Milford Tiles and Wood Flooring. 083 091 0707.
For great nights in, choose Centra. Enjoy a feast of football on TV and choose great big savings too. Like mix and match on selected chocolates, soft drinks and crisps sharing bags, any 3 for €4. Plus Carlsberg 12-can pack, only €20.36. Enjoy great nights in for the football with Centra. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy cold sensibly.
Century Complex gift cards are the perfect gift this Christmas. Our gift cards can be used throughout the complex in Backstage Bar and Grill, Century Cinemas and Century Play. Available in-store at Century Complex. Call us on 074 912 1976 or check out our website centurycinemas.ie for more information.
This Black Friday weekend, a massive clearance sale will take place at Watson Hire in Letterkenny, with clearance deals on tools, hardware and homeware, also in clothing, paint and much more. Representatives from Draper, Jefferson, Makita, Bosch, Milwaukee, Port West and others will be in attendance with loads of giveaways and prizes on the day. See Facebook for more details of amazing one-off deals. That's this weekend, Friday, Saturday and Sunday at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny.
The 9 till Noon Show with Waterfront Hotel and Inish Fitness Dunloe, Ireland's award-winning Hotel of the Year 2022. Join us for Christmas light switch on and free children's disco on Saturday 3rd of December. Now also take in bookings for Santa Grotto visits.
Tomorrow night on RTE TV, we will have what will probably be the most watched event on television this year. I think every year at this point. The Late Late Toy Show is pretty much the most watched thing on television. It's become as integral a part of Christmas as anything else in this country. And for many, it's what actually marks the start of the festive season. And that's being celebrated in a musical that's opening in Dublin on the 10th of December. One of the characters in that musical is Maisie. And there are 3 actresses. No, I'm not going to say actresses. There's no such thing as actresses. There are 3 actors, excuse me. There are 3 actors who are playing the role of Maisie. One of them from Donegal going to be talking to her, and also going to be talking to a young man from the region who will be performing on the Late Late Toy Show tomorrow night. So before we go to him, we're going to go to Sive, who is in Manor Cunningham. Sive Brannock, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Donal. How are you?
I am very well indeed. Sive, a lot of people will know you. You're a well-established musician locally. You and your family would have done a lot of work on Zoom over COVID. You and I played together actually at Relay for Life. You played with us with the Survivors Choir on our take on memories. And as well as that, you've done a lot of work locally with Encore and with other organisations as well. But now you're leaving Donegal behind and heading up to the big smoke. Tell us how this happened.
Well, I mean, I've always, because I've been brought up in a house full of music, I've always kind of had that love for music. And I think I have my parents to thank for that. But and then I started with DIMT's musical Oliver a few years ago, and then Encore's Matilda, that was a few months ago. And I really started to love musical theatre as a genre. And then and at the start of last summer there that just passed, I don't know if you remember, but there were ads on TVs and billboards going around going, Late Late Toy Show, sign up, you could be, whatever. So I saw it anyway, and I thought I would just, I really, really didn't think I would get it, but I just sent in like a video self-tape of like an audition just online first. And then a few weeks then I got a phone call saying that I got through to the recalls. So I went up to Dublin for that, and then everything kind of went well. And every week or so then for the next 4 or 5 weeks, I got another recall in Dublin. So there's maybe 4 or 5 trips up to Dublin. And while we were kind of going through the recalls, I would notice the numbers of the girls attending was just getting lower and lower. And I could kind of see, oh, she was there last time, she wasn't there this time. So it was really nerve-wracking. Like I had no idea what, they thought of me or anything.
It must have been a hard thing to do, because I mean you're meeting these girls week after week after week, and I'm sure you're having conversations, I'm sure you're forging friendships, and I'm sure you're all getting on really well, but by the same token you're thinking, I hope I get it. And in order to hope you get it, you're in one way you're almost sort of saying, oh, I'm still here. Oh, she was a rival, she's not here anymore. And I'm sure it must be a difficult thing to do.
I think every audition is difficult. I don't think any of them are easy, but I did meet loads of girls from all over the country, like from Cork, from even Waterford and everywhere. It was a great experience. And then in the start of September, then we got the phone call that I got the role. And honestly, I would have been happy enough for the role of a tree in this production. So I was absolutely in disbelief when I found out I got one of like the main roles. I couldn't believe it in something, so new and incredible as this opportunity. So I was really over the moon. I couldn't believe it.
So you've obviously been up and down to Dublin rehearsing. I mean, it's going to be a difficult process because you're trying to juggle this with the school and everything else.
Well, I'm actually in Dublin now, and I stay in Dublin during the week with my auntie Maisie. I know, yeah, it's a coincidence. Good sign, I think. My auntie Maisie, my uncle John, they house me. They put up with me during the week, and then I usually get a day off on a Sunday where I can go back home. But yeah, it's difficult because I'm in third year as well, so it is difficult to balance everything. But the school have been so good. Call Shally. I'm online with the school and in my classes whenever I can. I don't have rehearsal, and all the teachers and the principal have had such great support and everything. So I'm so thankful, because I don't know what I would do, without that support from the school. So I'm very, very lucky.
Do you know what days you will play the role? Because I'm sure a lot of people from Donegal are going to want to go down and see this show in Dublin, and I'm sure they'd love to be there while you're there. So do you know, is it 1 day on, 2 days off, or how is it shared out?
Well, we haven't got our dates yet for the shows that we're doing, but there are obviously 3 teams of the kids cast. And then sometimes if you look at the schedule of the tickets on Toy Show the Musical, there's sometimes like 3 shows a day, like 2 matinees and a night show.
Yeah.
So on those days, I would, be in at least 1 show as well, alongside the other 2 Maisies, Lily May and Mabel. So we don't know yet, and I'm getting loads of messages asking, but hopefully now by the end of this week or possibly next week, we'll definitely get it by then. I hope. So.
How long is the run going to be?
It's from the 10th to the 31st of December. So it's a long enough stretch.
It is.
I'm not complaining. I love it.
And which theatre is it in?
It's in the Convention Centre in Dublin.
In the Convention Centre, which is actually a great stage. I was at a gig there earlier this year. And it's a great stage. I mean, the doll sat in that room for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've been told it's absolutely like a huge stage, and they're building the set at the minute. We haven't gotten to see the set yet now in person in the Convention Centre, so we're all really excited to see that for the first time.
Well, I went to see, of all people, Nick Mason, the drummer with Pink Floyd, played with his band in the Convention Centre in April. And what I will say, for anyone who's thinking of going to it, the seats in there are the most comfortable seats in any theatre I've ever been in. They're like Pullman armchairs. It's a beautiful room. It's a lovely room, actually, I have to say. It's a very big stage as well, so it'll be a really interesting one, yeah. Stay with us, but I'm going to move over now to Chris Friel, 11 years old, pupil at Holy Cross. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
Chris, talk to us about your appearing tomorrow night on the Toy Show.
Well, back in August, my mum sent in a video into RTE, and a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call that was picked to go for an audition in the RT studios, and I was really happy because I really wanted it, and I play 5 instruments.
Yeah, I see that.
I play the piano, guitar, the banjo, ukulele, and I do cornet.
Which is an interesting range of instruments too. I mean, obviously guitar, ukulele, banjo, stringed instruments. You know, the cornet effectively is a variation on the trumpet, and I mean it's very different. Sort of the difference between ukulele and cornet. I mean, obviously there is music as there is in Sives. There's music in your family as well.
Yeah, my mom plays the guitar. We used to sing in like mass on like I do busking myself sometimes, but like I haven't been doing it for a while.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you've been up and down to Dublin. Now, you're actually, and I know they do this on the toy show. They'll get a load of people together and actually form a big group, and that's what you're involved in. You're actually part of a bigger group tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean like there's like a lot of dancers.
Mm.
Like they're good dancers, and
And is your piece is it the closing piece or is it in the middle of the show, or do you know at what point of the show your piece is?
yeah, it's the closing one.
Oh, that's going to be a biggie. They always pull all the stops out for the close.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing the piano.
Oh, it's the piano you were playing tomorrow, yeah.
Singing, yeah.
Yeah, and singing as well. Do you get to sing solo, or is it just part of a
It's
group, as it were?
duet.
Oh, nice. So obviously there's a huge amount of rehearsal involved, is there?
Yeah, every Sunday, like for the past 3 weeks.
So up and down to Dublin every Sunday, and I think a lot of people don't realise how much work goes into something like that. I mean, it's so well planned and it's so well put together. Have you got to meet Ryan yet?
Not yet, but like I hope to meet him like tonight or like tomorrow.
Yeah. So will you have a full dress rehearsal tonight? Is that the way it's going to work tonight?
Yeah, I think it's like a run of the show. Everyone will be there.
Yeah. Oh, they would you'd have to run that show at least once because so much can go wrong on the toy show. I presume you watch it every night. I mean, I think everyone in the country watches it, every year. So you have watched it for the past couple of years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Chris, thanks for talking to us. And listen, all the best. We really wish you well. I look forward to seeing it now, and we'll all be looking out for you playing the piano and singing that duet at the end of the toy show tomorrow night. And listen, congratulations on getting picked. That's Chris Friel, 11 years old, pupil at Holy Cross College. Chris, thank you, and all the best tomorrow night. Thank you very much indeed. That's Chris. Sive, I'm going to go back to you before we close because obviously there's a very long run now facing you in Toy Show, the musical. You'll pretty much, with the exception, I suppose, of Christmas Day and maybe the 2 days either side, you're going to be living in Dublin pretty much full time now for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I suppose so. I think it's a pretty big step. But I'm kind of a real Dubliner. Like, say I have my leap card and I get the bus in and out, and I've sussed it out a wee bit. But the family are coming up, and honestly, they've had to sacrifice their Christmas holidays as well to come up.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they love it. But I'm very, very thankful.
So are you going to come back to Donegal for Christmas Day, or will you stay in Dublin?
Oh, I'd have to come back for Christmas.
Yeah, you have to.
I have to come back.
And if anyone's wondering, by the way, I mean, people are thinking, you did say earlier there's music in your family. Let's go ahead. I mean, a lot of people will remember Arcana and know Arcana, and I've played them quite a bit whenever I get to do the show. And Colin Brannock and Sinead Gibson, both members of Arcana, are your parents. And I mean, you said there's always music in the house, and when Colin and Sinead are in the same place, there's always music there, irrespective of where they are. So the vintage is there, and the heritage is certainly there. Listen, Sive, have an absolute ball over the course of the next couple of weeks. Enjoy this, and who knows, this could be the springboard to something big, because I mean, obviously we've seen what you've done locally. You're a great musician. You've got a great presence on stage. You were on TV. You were in part of an animated film last year as well, weren't you? With
Paper Isle Studios.
Yeah. What was I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head. It was an Irish, wasn't it?
So me and Zana a coach,
Zana a coach,
also
yeah.
another Letterkenny, which was mad.
Yeah.
The two of us got the two main characters, which was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was a great experience as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's all there. So listen, Sive, have a great couple of weeks. We really wish you well, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be travelling down to Dublin to see Toy Show the musical from Donegal, and hopefully they'll be able to get to see it on a night that you're taking part. Sive, thanks a million. You take care.
Thanks so much, Donal.
Oh, you look safe. Bye. That's
Bye.
Sive Brannock there, who is playing the part of Maisie in Toy Show the musical, one of 3 actors who have got that particular role. This is the 9 till noon show. It's 27 minutes to 12 noon. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
Don't miss this week's bumper issue of the Irish Farmers Journal. Here's Paul Mooney.
Our 10-page agri-job special has essential advice and job opportunities. Don't miss our 24-page children's newspaper, which reviews the best farming toys for Christmas. We've all you need to know on the new €12 per yo scheme. And find out how cattle scarcity is set to drive beef prices on €200 a head.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
This Black Friday, get ready to pick up some great deals and head stateside with the Aer Lingus Black Friday sale. With €100 off round-trip fares to incredible North American cities, you'll be spoiled for choice on where to go. Enjoy US pre-clearance before you board and fly direct to amazing destinations like New York, Miami, LA, Seattle and more when you book this week. Sale now on. Grab your €100 discount today at airlingus.com. T's and C's apply. Travel 1st of January to 28th of March 2023.
Homeowners. If you've not already set up a phased payment arrangement for local property tax, you can do so now. You need to confirm your preferred payment option by December 2nd to ensure it is in place for the start of next year. The easiest way to do this is online at revenue.ie using either the LPT portal or My Account.
It doesn't take a lot to achieve a lot, particularly when it comes to COVID, flu and other winter viruses. Remember to keep doing the simple things, like cleaning hands, wearing masks, opening windows, as well as keeping up to date with your vaccine and boosters, and staying home when sick or displaying symptoms. We know these steps work, and they'll keep working as long as we do them. Let's keep on top of COVID, flu and other winter viruses. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
The Kilkenny Design Sale is now on. There's up to 50% off. Almost everything is reduced. It's the perfect excuse to start your Christmas shopping early, with fantastic offers on gifts across all departments. Visit a Kilkenny Design store or go to kilkennyshop.com for more info.
The O'Neill Sportswear Black Friday warehouse clearance sale is coming soon. Open from 9 a.m. Thursday 24th November, ends 5 p.m. Sunday 27th of November. County GAA jerseys, leisure wear including t-shirts, tracksuit bottoms, half zips, hoodies and jackets, all reduced to clear. Come and grab a bargain at O'Neill Sportswear Warehouse off the Melmount Road roundabout Strabane.
Save the date for the award-winning Hotel of the Year's Winter Wedding Fair at the Waterfront Dunlow on Thursday 5th of January from 6 till 9 p.m. The Waterfront Hotel Dunlow, proud sponsors of today's show.
You may have noticed if you're in Letterkenny and you're passing the retail park, there is a new store there. It's a Danish home retailer. It's spelt Jysk, but it's pronounced Jysk. And John Breslin is going to be down there with an outside broadcast to mark the opening of Jysk. It's the Danish home retailer's 20th store across Ireland. And John is there directly after this show from 12 midday. Now, let's go to a number of the biggest musicians in this country because it's been confirmed that the High Kings are going to be playing the Monterrigal Hotel in Letterkenny on December the 28th. Tickets €33, doors at 7:15, and I will confidently predict that that is a show that is going to sell out and sell out fast. Darren Holden, Finbar Clancy, Brian Dunphy and Paul O'Brien. Gentlemen, you are all very welcome indeed.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay, I'm going to go to you two first, Finbar, if I may. I mean, you know, you're huge all over the country. I mean, you know, I know we all love to say, coming to Donegal, the audience love you. It's going to be a very special show, I'm sure. But I'm sure it's going to be a very special show.
Well, it will be a very special show, Donal, because it'll be 15 years. It'll be our XV tour, which we're kicking off in December. So it's very exciting. It's kind of looking back on some of the songs that we've done since we started, some of the hits, some of the people the songs that people ask for the most and the songs we enjoy singing the most. So there's a bit of the old, and there'll be a bit of the new as well. So there'll be, and then everything else in between. So there'll be something to cover everyone.
So, I mean, you've played on Greyland Theatre several times over the years, and you've played other venues in Donegal as well. So, as you say, 15 years on the road, and it doesn't seem, you don't look old enough to have been on the road for 15 years.
We started when we were 5.
Yeah.
Started when we were 5, yeah.
But I mean, all the audiences would have seen you. So, effectively, what you're promising, look, you're going to get the High Kings that you know, but I'm sure there's going to be something new in there as well. I'm sure there's going to be, a few surprises. I'm sure there's going to be something that, it's not going to just be the same show you saw 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Well, we've had 15 years, obviously, of stories and adventures, Donal, down, that we can draw from. We've a lot of experience of touring around the world now, so we can actually concise that into a 90-minute, 2-hour show, whatever. And there will be a lot of surprises. We're doing, as Finbar said, a lot of the hits, a lot of the ones that people know from us, but we're going to throw in some new songs as well from the next album, which comes out next summer. And we have some original stuff that we're putting in there, but it's predominantly going to be all the sing-along classics that you come to know and expect from the High Kings.
But one of the things that you're all very well known for is your harmonies and your takes on songs that people know, be it Follow Me Up to Carlow, be it Grace, be it and songs like that. The harmonies that you inject, you'll take a song that people know and very much make it your own, and very much make it, someone hears a High Kings song, they know it's a High Kings song, even though they've known the song in other iterations for years.
Yeah, I think it's been hugely important for us to be able to do that. I mean, we all come from hugely different backgrounds, and to put what we've learned before the High Kings were ever born was the fact that we could actually just go into a room and just put our own stamp on it in relation to harmonies. And I think that's what kind of made it different and drew people to come and see the High Kings. Because, for us, it was a matter of making new arrangements and making the songs sound slightly different. And I think that was our key moving forward, to get all these old songs and make them sound different. And that was the thing. But, we have some great a cappella songs within the show that are 4-part harmonies. We've put harmonies in all the choruses. It's just been great, and we just finished a tour in Germany, Holland, and Belgium. So we are well rehearsed and ready to give it back to our Irish audience again.
One of the keys to your success, I think, is the fact that you've managed to very much attract an intergenerational audience. I mean, the older audience will go, but their grandkids will go as well. I mean, my own daughter is a huge fan, actually, I have to say. She's been to Greyland Theatre several times.
Thank you.
So I mean, you're attracting people right across the board, from the teens right to the 80s and 90s, and you have that appeal that crosses generations, and that's always going to be important in terms of ensuring that your audience goes with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any concert you will go to, you'll see teenagers, and even, believe it or not, newborn babies coming to our shows, right up to people in their 80s or 90s. So there's a mix the whole way across the board. And we've been sent some videos of children being born and actually High Kings music playing in the background. And even when they're growing up, the little kids are listening to High Kings music, and it's great to see. And they're carrying on that legacy then. When they get older, they'll be constantly playing the High Kings music, and it's great for us.
Yeah,
and not any babies born yet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's very interesting watching while you're having your cup of coffee.
We might throw that
in for in terms of the originals, and you've mentioned there's some originals coming. Are they written by yourselves, or are they written by other songwriters on your behalf, as it were, or have you actually put pen to paper yourselves?
We've written some of them ourselves. We're working on the album now over the last year and a half. Some of the songs, like Connemara Bay, our current single, was written by Conor O'Donoghue from Wild Youth, along with JC Stewart. The next single is written by Danny and Glenn from The Script. So we have a lot of new songs coming in from people written for us by bands like Codaline, Ryan Sheridan. A lot of the contemporary artists got involved and threw their songs into that. So it's very exciting.
And that's going to ensure too that you are keeping in touch with. I mean, when you have people like Codaline or Ryan Sheridan, writing songs, they'll be writing. They'll know what their audience wants, and they'll be, that'll be going into, I'm sure, what they're writing too. So again, it's going to be relevant music right across the board. I mean, the last thing the High Kings wants to be is some sort of heritage band or some sort of come and see us and experience a legacy. You're not a legacy band. You're very much a current recording, writing, and performing band making current relevant music.
Exactly. It's always evolving. And I think that's what keeps us going after 15 years. And that's what keeps us going for the next 15, hopefully. Like something new, will always spark off some creativity within us. And I think there's a lot more left in this band. Yeah. I mean, we can always tip the hat to the old songs that got us known in the first place, but it's always about the journey. It's always about what's next for us. We never rest on our laurels for too long. So as long as the audience are coming along for the journey, we're happy.
How hard is it coming up with a set list? Because I'm sure each of you has your own favourites. I'm sure everyone has the song they love to sing. And let's be honest, I'm sure everyone has the song that perhaps they're not as enthusiastic as others are to sing. How do you actually come up with the set list? Because, I mean, after 15 years, as you say, between the new stuff and the old stuff, you've got a
there it is there.
To choose.
You can't see it, but we're actually going through the set list at the moment. That's why we're together.
I was going to say, you tell me, how you put a set list together.
Yeah.
We're actually in the process right now of putting a process of putting the set list together as we speak today, and we're going to rehearse some of the songs, looking back on years ago, some of the great old songs that we did. We started with that maybe we put in the back drawer, but it's time to
I mean,
take them out, dust them off, and sing them again.
There are going to be a couple of we have to have those in. There'll be a couple of you have to have those, But I mean, I'm sure there's quite a lot. It'll be well, maybe, and and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion about that. There'll be a lot of discussion.
What are your daughter's favourites?
She loves Grace. I'd say Grace.
Well, there you go.
I'd say Grace would be probably hers. Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
We'll do that. So,
that's what we were doing.
In fairness, you have
media.
to do Grace. I mean, you couldn't not do Grace, guys.
No, you have to.
You couldn't.
And folk is back. Folk is cool at the moment. With all the younger bands that are happening as well. So we're just trying to keep going with everybody else as well. And I think going back to the whole songwriters thing, they wanted to kind of champion folk and Irish music as well. And all the younger songwriters are coming with us with tons of songs because they want to be, I suppose, linked in with the heritage as well. Even though they're pop and they're rock, they want to be linked in with the Irish side as well, and they come to us, so it's great to be in there.
Yeah, and in terms of obviously the originals, the album coming out shortly, you're going to be looking at obviously scoring high in the Irish charts. I mean, you're looking across the water, you're looking at Europe, you're looking at the States. I mean, there is a very bright future, for the High Kings. Obviously, you're well established already, but I mean, there are still heights to scale. In terms of breaking America, you've played over there, you've been successful there, but a lot more could be done on that side of the Atlantic. So, I suppose onwards and upwards for the band.
Absolutely. I mean, we're looking at a total world tour for this album next year. So we're looking at all sorts of new territories as well. Yeah. It's very exciting times, and doing a bit up in Canada as well.
Yeah. But I'm sure and I've no doubt if you go on a world tour, you go to anywhere, be it Tokyo or be it Kuala Lumpur or be it Oslo, you're going to, number one, find a huge Irish community there, but you're also going to find local people who've come across the music, and this is where the internet, I suppose, and when it comes to the internet and to Spotify and things like that, for musical acts, it can be both a blessing and a curse, because it can get the music out there, but it also has impacts on artist income and so on, particularly in terms of writing and particularly in terms of, selling product, in terms of albums. I mean, I'm certainly not buying anywhere near as many CDs as I used to, let's be honest about it. And, I do pay my monthly Spotify premium, but the artists don't get as much as that as I would like. And, it's got to be difficult. But by the same token, whereas the internet is potentially damaging the income from album sales, it's also giving you a platform that you can go anywhere in the world and be confident that people in that place will know and have listened to the High Kings, and hopefully will shell out on a concert ticket.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's just the way of the world these days, and we see that all the time. Particularly, you mentioned the States, and in the States, it's predominantly Pandora that we keep hearing about. That's the streaming service that's almost as big as Spotify over there. But so many people, they find us through the folk playlists and the world playlists, and they come along and they haven't experienced this life before. And then, if we're lucky, they stay with us for the next number of years, which has been happening. And like going back to the whole thing with kids, starting out like 4 or 5 years old, we now have them coming in, they're 15, 16, 17 years old as well. And they're telling their young siblings as well about it. So it's all about evolving, as we were saying. And, the way the world is streaming these days, and we wish it was CDs and all that kind of stuff, but you got to make do with what you have in front of you.
And finally, from the point of view of people who are considering going to the Mount Errigal Hotel on Wednesday, the 28th of December, it does bear stating too that this isn't just a matter of 4 guys standing on a stage and singing. This is a show.
Yeah, it's going to be a show, yes. as Darren said earlier on, we're going to have some old classics plus the new ones. And we're not going to go to any venue and just stand on the stage, and we're going to belt the songs out, and we're going to give a 100% fantastic show throughout Ireland.
No doubt indeed. Right. Darren, Finbar, Brian and Paul, listen, thanks very much indeed, the four of you, for joining us on the show this morning. Really looking forward to that show on the 28th of December. We'll say goodbye to you on Zoom, and let's play some